The first garbage bag split before Leah reached her car. A sleeve from her graduation dress slipped through the tear and dragged across the driveway, collecting a gray streak of dust. Her mother stooped to rescue it, brushing the fabric with quick, irritated swipes, as if the dirt were the problem. "I told your father these bags were too thin," Denise said. Leah stood beside the open trunk with her tassel still looped around her wrist. The gold numbers tapped softly against her watch. 2 hours earlier, her parents had raised champagne glasses to her future. Now, her bedroom window was dark, the front door was locked, and Carl Mercer watched from the porch without coming down the steps. "Mom," Leah said, "am I actually supposed to leave?" Denise folded the dress over her arm. "Just give him tonight to cool off." "Where am I going tonight?" Her mother looked toward the porch. Carl's face did not change. She made an adult decision. Adults live with their decisions. Leah waited for the rest, for the part where he sighed, rubbed his forehead, and told her to bring everything back inside. Carl loved a dramatic lesson, but until then, his lessons had always ended before dark. He went into the house and shut the door. Dinner had started with crab cakes. That detail kept bothering Leah because crab cakes required effort. Her mother had driven across town for them. She had chilled the white wine Leah liked and put the blue linen napkins on the table, the ones Denise normally saved for people she wanted to impress. A small silver graduate cap sat beside Leah's plate. When she pressed the button on the bottom, it played 6 tinny seconds of Pomp and Circumstance. Megan had pressed it 4 times. "Again," Leah had said, laughing despite herself. "I don't think Dad heard it." "I heard it," Carl said. Megan pressed it a 5th time. Carl pointed his fork at her. "You're 30. That defense doesn't work anymore. It barely worked when I was 12. It never worked. It worked on Mom." Denise carried in the salad and said, "Everything worked on me. That was the problem." For a little while, they were the family Leah had wanted them to be all day. Megan stole the crisp edges from the roasted potatoes. Carl complained about the commencement speaker reading from note cards and then admitted he had fallen asleep during the accounting degrees. Denise kept touching Leah's shoulder whenever she passed behind her chair. Leah had spent the ceremony searching the crowd for their faces. Carl had stood when her name was called. He had whistled through 2 fingers so loudly that the woman beside him covered 1 ear. Leah had wanted to be embarrassed. Instead, she had walked across the stage grinning, like someone who had just been chosen. After dessert, Carl brought a cream-colored envelope from the kitchen counter and set it beside Leah's coffee. "There," he said. "Your real graduation present." Megan leaned over. "If that's a timeshare, don't sign anything." Leah slid a finger under the flap. Inside was a printed job description for an assistant operations coordinator at Burke Building Supply in Knoxville. A yellow sticky note across the top read, "Ask for Eid. He's expecting you." She looked up. "What is this?" "A start. I know what a job description is." "Then college worked." Denise smiled too brightly. "It has benefits." "And a relocation allowance," Carl said. "They'll cover your first month in one of those corporate apartments while you find something." Leah read the first paragraph twice. Inventory reports, vendor schedules, 45 hours a week, some weekends. A salary large enough to make her student loan payment without calculating which groceries could wait. "It's a good company," Carl said. "Ed Burke and I go back 20 years. He needs someone sharp, and I told him you were ready to work." "You told him I wanted this?" "I told him you'd call Monday." Megan's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. Leah laid the paper flat. "Dad, I already have a job." Carl stared as though she had announced a secret marriage. At the Hawthorne, she continued. "Night guest services. I start Thursday. The hotel by the airport? Yes. The one with the fake fountain? I don't think fountain authenticity is part of my department." Megan made a small choking sound into her napkin. Carl didn't smile. "You said you interviewed there. You didn't say you accepted. I found out yesterday. And you didn't think that belonged in a conversation with us? It belongs in one. This is the first time all of us have been in the same room. You've been home 3 days. You spent yesterday at work. Mom was doing the church auction. And Megan arrived 40 minutes ago." 38, Megan said. Denise shot her a look. Carl tapped the Burke job description. "The Hawthorne pays what? $15 an hour? $16.50. Wonderful. You can buy half a tire. It's not forever. Then what is it for?" Leah had practiced an answer, but not while sitting beneath the dining room light with all of them watching. She turned the silver cap over in her hands. The button was held in place with a piece of clear tape. "It keeps me here for a while," she said. "I can help Grandma." Silence settled so quickly that the refrigerator's ice maker sounded like someone dropping silverware in another room. Carl leaned back. "Help her do what? You know what?" "No, I'd like to hear it." "At the sunset. She can't keep running that place alone. She isn't running it. It's collapsing around her. Then she needs more help. She needs to close it." Denise began stacking dessert plates, even though two still held cake. "Your grandmother has had several reasonable offers." "For the land," Leah said, "not the motel." "The motel is not a separate living creature," Carl said. "To Grandma it is." "Exactly." He said the words softly. That was worse than when he raised his voice. Carl's anger got quieter as it became less negotiable. Leah had spent summers at the Sunset Lodge since she was old enough to reach the supply shelves. June let her fold towels behind the front desk and paid her a nickel for every fitted sheet she managed without swearing. By 16, Leah could reset a tripped breaker, calm a guest who had found a cricket in the bathtub, and tell from the office bell whether the person ringing it was impatient or simply lonely. Carl had never once picked her up there. Denise always drove. "The Hawthorne gives me hotel experience," Leah said. "Real experience. And I can stay with Grandma some nights so she isn't alone." "You have a degree," Carl said. "You don't need experience unclogging toilets beside a dead highway. It's hospitality management. It's a motel with 3 regular customers and a vacancy sign that lies. 7 rooms were booked last weekend, by people who think indoor smoking is a constitutional right." Megan looked down, but Leah saw the corner of her mouth twitch. Usually Leah would have laughed too. That was how Carl made surrender feel like joining his side. This time she didn't. "I already said yes." Carl's eyes moved from Leah to Denise, as if checking whether someone else had heard the disrespect in that sentence. "Then call them and say you made a mistake." "I didn't. You're going to turn down a salaried position because June has convinced you she'll fall apart without you." "She didn't convince me of anything. I've seen her." "When?" "All semester." Denise stopped stacking plates. "You said you were studying on weekends." "I was studying. I also drove down." The Sunset was 90 minutes from campus and 40 from her parents' house. Leah had made the trip twice a month, sometimes more. June's ankles had started swelling in February. By April, she got winded walking from the office to room 6. She made Leah promise not to tell Carl because he would use any weakness as a reason to take control. Leah had kept that promise until it stopped feeling like loyalty and started feeling dangerous. Carl pushed back his chair. "Your grandmother has spent her whole life arranging emergencies so people can prove they love her. That's not fair. You don't know enough yet to tell me what's fair. I know she needs help. She always needs help." Something moved across his face then, quick, almost frightened, but it was gone before Leah understood it. He picked up the cream envelope, folded it once, and set it back down. "You have 2 choices," he said. "You call Ed Burke on Monday, take the position, and build an actual life. Or you go play motel manager with June. But you will not live here for free while you ignore every opportunity we paid for you to have." Leah looked at her mother. Denise's hands were wet from a glass she had begun washing. "Maybe nobody needs to choose tonight." "She already chose," Carl said. He left the dining room. Leah waited for Denise to follow him, argue, lower her voice, use the patient tone that had talked Carl out of selling a car Megan had dented and canceling Christmas after a fight about his brother. Instead, Denise wiped the counter twice. Megan stared at Leah. "He'll calm down." It was what everyone said when Carl was angry, as if calmness and regret were the same thing. "He told me to leave," Leah said. "He said if you chose the motel." "I chose the motel. You chose it at dinner. Choose something else tomorrow." Leah laughed once. It came out ugly. "Is that how you do it?" Megan's cheeks colored. "I'm trying to help." "No, you're explaining the rules." Upstairs, Leah packed a duffel bag because she still believed she would be back the next day. Jeans, toiletries, work shoes, laptop. She left her books on the shelf and her framed photographs on the dresser. When she came down, Carl was in his den with the television on. Denise stood by the front door. "Your father thinks it's better if you take everything," she said. For a moment, Leah could only look at her. Then she went back upstairs. The second trip took 40 minutes. Her mother helped. That was the unbearable part. Denise folded each sweater before placing it in a garbage bag. She wrapped Leah's ceramic lamp in a bath towel. She found the missing mate to a green sock under the bed and tucked the pair into the side pocket of the suitcase. Neither woman said Carl was wrong. By the time Leah loaded the last bag, the champagne warmth had left her body. She called June from the driver's seat with the doors locked. Her grandmother answered on the 7th ring. "If this is somebody selling me a warranty, I'm already dead." "Grandma?" June's voice changed. "Leah, can I come stay with you tonight?" A pause followed, filled by the faint rattle of the motel's old window air conditioner. What happened? Leah watched Denise carry the torn graduation dress back into the house, still draped over her arm. "I took the Hawthorne job." "That doesn't sound fatal." "Dad disagrees?" Another pause. June did not ask if Carl had thrown her out. She only said, "Room 4's toilet screams every time you flush it, and room 9 smells like a wet Bible. You can have the office sofa." Leah put her forehead against the steering wheel. "Is that a yes?" "It's a key," June said. "Those are better." The Sunset's vacancy sign was buzzing when Leah pulled in just after midnight. 3 cars sat beneath the long metal awning. Moths battered themselves against the office light. June stood behind the glass door in a pink robe and house slippers, one hand pressed to the wall for balance. Leah carried in one bag and left the rest in the trunk. June looked at the tassel around her wrist, then at Leah's face. She did not offer pity. She took a brass key from the pegboard and placed it in Leah's palm. "Your father always hated that sofa," she said. Leah closed her fingers around the key. "When did Dad ever sleep here?" June's gaze shifted toward the dark row of rooms. Then she turned off the office sign. "Not tonight," she said. "Tonight you get to be tired." The sofa had a metal bar exactly where Leah's spine wanted to be. She found it at 1:17 in the morning, lost it at 1:19, then found it again every time she moved. The office smelled of lemon cleaner, old carpet, and the popcorn June sold in 60-cent bags from a wire rack that still had a sun-bleached price card taped to it. Beyond the wall, the ice machine dropped a load with a mechanical crash. Leah sat up. The office was lit only by the blue glow of the computer monitor. June had left a blanket, a glass of water, and 2 aspirin on the desk, although Leah had not said she had a headache. Through the glass door, she could see her packed car beneath the awning. Garbage bags filled the back seat like bodies. At her parents' house, her room would already be too neat. Denise cleaned when she was upset. She would have vacuumed the lines left in the carpet where Leah's dresser had stood and closed the blinds over the empty window. Carl would be asleep on his side with the television still flickering. Leah picked up her phone. There was one message from her mother. "Let me know when you get there." Leah typed, "I'm here." She erased it. Safe. She erased that too. She set the phone face down without answering. At 6:30, the office bell rang. Leah came awake with one foot tangled in the blanket and stumbled into the desk hard enough to knock over the plastic container of motel pens. A man in a camouflage cap stood on the other side of the counter, holding a toilet tank lid. "Morning," he said. Leah blinked at him. "Is that ours? I sure hope so." The man had checked into room 4 the previous evening, which explained June's warning about the toilet. It did not explain why he had brought part of it to the office. "It started screaming," he said. "I lifted this off to see if it was the chain, and then the flapper came loose. I believe the handle's trying to escape. You carried the lid over here? Didn't want you thinking I broke it? Bringing me evidence does make you look less suspicious." He considered that, nodded, and set the porcelain lid on the counter. "Name's Gary Loomis. I'm going for biscuits. You want one?" Leah found herself staring at him. People at the Hawthorne would never carry a toilet lid through a parking lot. They would call the front desk from 6 feet away and describe the problem as an emergency. "Plain biscuit?" Gary asked. "Sausage?" "Your face says sausage." "Coffee," Leah said. "My face says coffee." "Coffee's not breakfast. It is if you're in your 20s. He looked past her at the pillow on the sofa, but did not comment. "I'll get you a sausage." June came through the back door 10 minutes later, wearing navy pants and a sweatshirt that read, "Sunset Lodge. We'll leave the light on if the wiring allows." Her silver hair stood up on one side. "You took his toilet apart?" she asked. "He brought it to me. Gary likes props. You knew he would do that? He did it in 2019. June poured coffee into a mug stained brown around the rim, then nudged a second mug toward Leah. "You have nicer cups," Leah said. "Those are for guests. I am a guest." No, guests have beds. June added 3 spoons of sugar to her coffee. Her hands trembled slightly, making the spoon rattle against the ceramic. Leah pretended to inspect the registration cards pinned beside the computer. Did you sleep? Sure. On the bar or around it? Around it. That's the trick. June lowered herself into the desk chair and took one careful breath through her nose. She had always moved slowly in the mornings, but this was different. There was a pause between deciding to sit and doing it, as if her body required negotiation. Leah set down her mug. You look tired. I'm 74 and it's before 7. I'd look suspicious if I didn't. Your ankles are swollen. That's because they're attached to me. Grandma. June reached beneath the counter, found a black rubber flapper valve and a box of loose plumbing parts, and held it out. Room 4. Take the pliers. If Gary comes back before you're done, don't let him help. You're changing the subject. I'm assigning maintenance. You said I get to be tired. That expired at sunrise. Leah took the flapper. Room 4 smelled faintly of aftershave and the fried onions Gary had eaten in bed. His suitcase was open on the luggage rack, every shirt rolled into careful cylinders. A paperback western lay face down on the nightstand beside a pill organizer. Leah set the tank lid on a folded towel and replaced the flapper while June called instructions from the doorway. You are allowed inside, Leah said. I can see fine from here. You're winded. I walked all the way from the office. That's 40 feet. 42. Don't rob me. Leah tested the handle. The toilet flushed with a low groan instead of its previous shriek. See, June said. College. My degree is paid off. Gary returned carrying a paper sack spotted with grease. He handed Leah a wrapped biscuit and bowed to the repaired toilet. I knew you'd save her. Her? Sounds like a woman when she screams. June gave Leah a look that said this was why guests could not be allowed to diagnose plumbing. By 8, Gary had checked out, leaving the tank lid in its proper place and $3 on the pillow. June turned on the red vacancy sign, even though 7 of the 12 rooms were empty. Leah ate her biscuit at the desk and watched trucks pass on the state road without slowing. The sunlight was not kind to the sunset. Paint curled from the balcony rail. A gutter sagged above room 10. The pool had been drained years earlier and covered with a tarp that collected rainwater and pine needles. In June's photographs from the 70s, the doors had been coral pink, the office awning striped, and the pool crowded with adults holding plastic tumblers. Now, every door was the same tired beige except room 7, which had been painted blue as a test and never finished around the hinges. What do we have today? Leah asked. Rosa comes at 9. Mrs. Hanley checks out by 10 unless she decides not to. 2 reservations tonight. That's it? It's Thursday. What happens Friday? Sometimes 3 reservations. Leah opened the old desktop computer. A spreadsheet filled the screen, though June appeared to use it mostly to record guest names and opinions. Beside Gary Loomis, she had typed, quiet, brings own cooler, distrusts toilets. What's the average occupancy? The average of what? The rooms. Depends on the week. Last month. Depends which rooms you count. All the rooms. Why count one that can't be rented? Leah looked at her. Which ones can't be rented? June drank her coffee. Before she could answer, a red sedan pulled into the lot. Rosa Alvarez got out wearing white sneakers, gray scrubs, and sunglasses with rhinestones along the arms. She opened the trunk and removed a rolling cart loaded with cleaning bottles and folded rags. Rosa had worked at the Sunset for 18 years and had never once accepted June's claim that they were like family. Family calls you on Thanksgiving, Rosa said whenever June used the phrase. Family does not clean hair out of your drains. She came into the office, stopped when she saw Leah's blanket on the sofa, and lowered her sunglasses. Well, she said, your father finally did it. Leah's stomach tightened. Did Grandma call you? No. I didn't, June said. Rosa looked through the glass at the back seat of Leah's car. Your clothes are in trash bags, and your father has been threatening to teach you a lesson since you turned 14. I can assemble a puzzle. It's temporary. Everything is temporary if you wait long enough. Rosa took the room list from June and scanned it. Mrs. Hanley smoked in 11. She leaned out the window. She leaned her cigarette out the window. Her mouth stayed inside. Charge the cleaning fee, she will cry. Then charge her quietly. Rosa glanced at Leah again. There was no pity in her face, which made Leah like her more than she wanted to. You working today? I start at the Hawthorne Thursday. This is Thursday. Next Thursday. Then today you can strip room 3. June said, she graduated yesterday. Rosa handed Leah a pair of yellow gloves. Wonderful. She can read the instructions on the bleach. They worked until noon. Room 3 had hosted a couple who used every towel, including the ones stored on the top shelf, and left the air conditioner set to 62. Rosa showed Leah how to pull the bottom sheet without straining her back, then made her do it again when the corner came loose. At 12:15, June appeared in the doorway with ham sandwiches wrapped in wax paper. You put mustard on mine? Rosa asked. No. You always put mustard. You always complain. I complain because you keep doing it. June handed her the sandwich. Rosa opened it, found mustard, and ate it anyway. Leah sat on the edge of the stripped mattress. Her phone had buzzed twice in her pocket. She knew without looking that neither message was from Carl. The first was Megan. You alive? The second was from Denise. Your dad needs time. Please don't make this bigger by involving Grandma. Leah read that one twice. June leaned against the doorframe, chewing. Bad news? No. Your mouth does a thing. My mouth is eating. It does another thing when you lie. Leah turned the screen off. Mom says not to involve you. June nodded as if Denise had asked her not to overwater a fern. Bit late. Did Dad call? No. Would you tell me if he did? No. Rosa folded a towel with a sharp snap. Both of you are exhausting. Leah waited until June returned to the office before following her. I want to pay you, Leah said. For the sofa? For staying here? June opened the cash drawer and counted the small bills. I'm serious. So am I. Sofa rate is $300 a night. Very exclusive. Terrible for the back. I don't want this to be one of those things where you save me and then Dad says you made me dependent. June's hands stopped. For the first time that morning, she looked directly at Leah without hiding behind a joke. Your father says many things when he wants the room to have only one door. What does that mean? It means pay me $50 a week when you start work. Help here when you can. If either one becomes too much, you tell me before you start resenting the other. Leah had expected refusal. The clean term startled her. Okay, she said. Okay. And you make a doctor's appointment. June went back to counting. That's part of my terms, Leah said. You're in no position to have terms. Then I won't pay. June looked offended. That is financial abuse of the elderly. That is negotiation. From room 11 came Rose's voice. Go to the doctor, June. Traitor, June called. That afternoon, Leah carried her bags from the car into the cramped storage room behind the office. June cleared one metal shelf for her folded clothes and pretended not to notice when Leah placed the silver graduation cap beside a box of spare key tags. At dusk, Leah went outside to switch on the vacancy sign. The red tubes flickered twice before holding steady. Across the road, fields stretched toward a line of dark trees. Cars passed without turning in. Somewhere behind the rooms, Rosa dragged a trash bin over cracked pavement. June laughed at something on television in the manager's apartment, then coughed until the laugh disappeared. Leah stood beneath the buzzing sign, with her hand still on the switch. For the first time since the driveway, she understood that being allowed to stay was not the same as having arrived somewhere safe. The cough stopped before Leah went inside, which somehow made it worse. June had a talent for ending symptoms the moment they acquired a witness. By the time Leah entered the apartment, she was sitting upright in her recliner, eating vanilla pudding from the cup, and watching a game show with the volume too high. That sounded bad. That woman guessed Abraham Lincoln was president during World War II. Your cough. Not as bad as her answer. Leah stood between June and the television. June leaned sideways to see around her. You make an excellent wall. We agreed on a doctor. You proposed a doctor. I accused you of extortion. No agreement was reached. I can make the appointment or drive you to urgent care. Those are both appointments. Now you understand the system. June sighed, peeled the foil lid completely off her pudding, and licked the underside with deliberate dignity. Dr. Patel, not the new one who says, at your age, before every sentence. Tomorrow? He plays golf Wednesday afternoons. How do you know? His wife stayed here after she threw him out. Leah stared at her. Temporarily, June said. Everything worked out. You know an alarming amount about this town. People tell motel clerks what they won't tell priests. Priests remember your name. Dr. Patel could see June Friday morning. She complained about the hour, the parking, and the likelihood that the examination room would contain a poster of cheerful elderly people walking uphill. She did not cancel. Leah's first shift at the Hawthorne began Thursday at 11 at night. The lobby looked exactly as it had during her interview: glossy tile, gray furniture, white orchids too perfect to be real. Water slid down a black stone fountain beside the elevators. Carl had called it fake, but the water was real enough to require a yellow caution sign where a guest had splashed it onto the floor. A woman named Nia Brooks trained Leah. Nia wore a burgundy blazer, black sneakers hidden behind the desk, and an expression that suggested she had already solved whatever problem was approaching. First thing, she said, never tell anyone the fountain is working as designed. What do I tell them? That we're monitoring it. Are we? We are always monitoring everything. That's hospitality. She showed Leah the reservation system, the emergency binder, the drawer of toothbrushes, and the discreet button that called security. The Hawthorne had 186 rooms, 2 elevators, a breakfast staff that arrived at 4:30, and printed procedures for situations the Sunset handled with a flashlight and June's judgment. At 12:20, a man in a business suit came to the desk and announced that the air conditioner in 516 was producing a hostile vibration. Nia kept her face still. I'm sorry to hear that. It's not a noise. It's a vibration. Of course, I can feel it in my molars. Nia offered to move him. He said repacking would destroy the remaining 4 hours of his sleep. She offered earplugs. He said the vibration was skeletal, not auditory. Leah watched Nia dispatch maintenance, offer points, and make the man feel victorious without agreeing that the hotel had attacked his teeth. When he left, Nia turned to Leah. Any questions? Is he going to sleep? Not if he can help it. At 3, Leah checked in a respiratory therapist whose flight had been canceled twice. At 4, she found a clean room for a couple who had accidentally booked the Hawthorne in Hawthorne, California. At 5:15, she learned how to restart the printer by kicking the cabinet beneath it. You didn't see that in college, Nia said. I had an elective. By 7, Leah's feet hurt and the muscles between her shoulders felt wired tight. Still, when Nia counted her drawer and said, "You're quick," Leah felt something inside her settle. It was small and professional and belonged to no one in her family. She drove back to the Sunset under a sky turning pale over the fields. June's sedan was gone. For one wild second, Leah imagined an ambulance, an empty recliner, Dr. Patel shaking his head. Then she saw the note taped to the office door. At Doctor, don't look so pleased. Rosa was cleaning room 6. Leah found her standing on a bath towel, spraying the air conditioner filter with the shower head. She went. I drove her. You did? Rosa turned off the water. She called me at 6:30 and said you would be insufferable if she canceled. She's right. You look terrible. I worked all night. Then you look appropriate. Leah slept until noon, wedged between the sofa bar and a pillow she had bought with money she should not have spent. When she woke, June sat at the desk sorting receipts into piles. What did he say? That I'm charming. Dr. Patel has never said that. He thought it loudly. Grandma. June placed a pharmacy bag on the counter. Too much fluid, too much salt. Blood pressure behaving like it owns the place. He adjusted my pills and wants some tests. What tests? The expensive kind. When? I'll schedule them. Leah sat across from her. Do you have heart failure? June's fingers paused over a receipt. The answer was so small Leah almost missed it. A little. You can't have a little heart failure? You can. That's why they use numbers. How long have you known? Known is a strong word. How long? June resumed sorting. 2 years. The office bell rang before Leah could respond. Mrs. Hanley entered wearing enormous sunglasses and carrying a grocery bag filled with motel towels. I found these in my car, she said. I don't know how they got there. June accepted the bag. They migrate. They do. Terrible problem. Mrs. Hanley leaned closer. Also, I did not smoke in 11. Rosa says you did. Rosa dislikes me. Rosa dislikes smoke. Mrs. Hanley considered this distinction. Is my cleaning fee refundable? No. Fair enough. After she left, June tried to continue sorting. Leah placed her hand over the receipts. We are not done. Heart failure is a lousy name, June said. It sounds like the whole thing has packed a bag and walked out. Mine's still there. It's just lazy. You should have told me. You had finals. And before finals, you had midterms. There is not a time in my life when you get to use my schedule to hide this. June's face sharpened. I did not ask you to move in. The words landed between them. Leah removed her hand. No. You just left the light on. I gave you a place because you needed one. That does not give you control of my body. I'm not trying to control you. You made a doctor's appointment and stood in front of my television. You couldn't walk 40 feet without breathing hard. And now I have pills, which you'll take. If I remember, I'll make a chart. If you make a chart, I'll eat it. Leah walked out before she said something cruel enough to resemble Carl. She slept in her car for an hour, parked behind room 12, where June could not see her from the office. The front seat did not have a metal bar, but the steering wheel pressed against her knees. When she woke, sweat dampened her shirt, and her anger had reduced itself to fear. That evening, she found a plastic pill organizer beside June's coffee mug. The compartments were labeled with the days of the week. No chart. Neither of them mentioned it. A routine grew around their stubbornness. Leah worked 4 nights a week at the Hawthorne. On quiet shifts, Nia taught her to audit room charges and read the daily occupancy forecast. On bad ones, they passed each other beneath the lobby clock carrying towels, apology vouchers, and private expressions of disbelief. Leah learned that a polished front desk did not make people less lonely. Guests still lingered to tell her about divorces, job interviews, funerals, and knees that hurt in the rain. They simply did it beside a fake orchid. At the Sunset, she slept until noon, helped Rosa turn rooms, and spent afternoons making sense of June's finances. June recorded every dollar, but planned as if the next emergency might be persuaded to wait. The air conditioner in room 2 failed during a heat wave. The gutter above room 10 finally tore free and struck the pavement like a gunshot. A plumber examined the recurring damp patch behind room 7 and used the phrase "when you're ready," which Leah quickly learned meant when you can afford bad news. Her first paycheck arrived by direct deposit. She withdrew $50 in cash, placed it in an envelope, and wrote rent across the front. June accepted it without argument. The next morning, Leah found $40 tucked beneath her coffee mug. She carried it into the apartment. What is this? Change. That is not how rent works. The sofa depreciated. Take it. No. Leah put the money in the cash drawer. June moved it back under Leah's mug. By evening, it had traveled through the office 6 times, once inside the popcorn rack and once in June's shoe. Rosa ended the dispute by taking the $40. Problem solved, she said. Give it back, both women told her. Rosa smiled and returned it to Leah. Your voices do the same thing when you're angry. They stopped arguing after that. Denise called every Sunday at 4. She asked about work, the weather, and whether Leah was eating. She never apologized for the driveway. Carl could sometimes be heard in the background, opening cabinets or changing television channels, close enough to know who was calling and far enough to avoid speaking. One Sunday, Denise said, Your father's birthday is next month. I know when Dad's birthday is. He would like everyone together. Did he say that? He doesn't have to say everything. That seems convenient for him. Denise went quiet. You're both so determined to be hurt. Leah looked through the office window at June, who was outside watering geraniums with one hand braced against the wall. I'm not determined, Leah said. It came naturally. She did not attend Carl's birthday dinner. Megan texted a photograph of the cake, then another of the empty chair beside her. Leah deleted both and worked the night shift. By late summer, the silver graduation cap had gathered dust on the storage room shelf. Leah had stopped counting how many nights she had spent on the sofa. Her clothes smelled faintly of motel detergent no matter where she wore them. June's new pills helped at first. The swelling in her ankles went down. She moved faster and complained more, which Leah took as a good sign. Then she began skipping lunch because food tasted metallic. She misplaced a reservation card and blamed the stapler. Twice Leah found her asleep at the office desk before sunset. On a humid September afternoon, the office bell rang while Leah was replacing batteries in the television remotes. No one stood at the counter. The bell rang again. The sound came from below. Leah walked around the desk and found June sitting on the floor, one hand still stretched toward the brass bell, as if she had decided asking for help was acceptable, only if she could make it look like customer service. Don't make a fuss, June said. Her voice was thin, but her annoyance had survived intact. Leah dropped beside her. Did you fall? I sat down quickly. Why? I was tired of standing. June's face had gone the color of the office walls. Sweat dampened the hair along her forehead. Leah reached for her phone. June caught her wrist. Her grip was surprisingly strong. No ambulance? You rang the bell. I wanted you. You got me. I'm calling them. It costs too much. I don't care. You will when the bill comes. Leah dialed anyway. The dispatcher asked questions while Leah loosened the collar of June's blouse and tried to keep her own voice level. Yes, June was conscious. Yes, she was breathing, though not well. No, there was no chest pain. June corrected every answer with the offended precision of someone listening to her own biography being told badly. I am not confused, she said. She's not confused. I know the date. She knows the date. It's Tuesday. Leah looked at the calendar. It's Wednesday. June closed her eyes. That calendar's aggressive. The ambulance arrived in 9 minutes. It felt like 40, and also like no time at all. 2 paramedics came through the office with a stretcher, equipment bags, and the kind of calm that made Leah understand how frightened she was. June objected to being lifted. She objected to the oxygen mask. She objected when one paramedic asked if she had a history of congestive heart failure. History makes it sound like it's over, she said beneath the mask. Leah called Rosa while they wheeled June outside. I'm coming, Rosa said. I need you to. I know what a motel does when June leaves. Go. There were 4 occupied rooms. Rosa arrived before the ambulance pulled away, still wearing the apron from the diner where she ate lunch on Wednesdays. She stood beside Leah's car and held out her hand. Keys. Leah gave her the office ring. All of them, Rosa said. Leah added the master key. Now go. At the hospital, June was surrounded by clean surfaces and people who did not laugh when she made jokes. A nurse took blood. A technician rolled in a machine. Someone cut off the motel wristband June had been wearing since a plumbing convention 3 years earlier, thinking it was a medical alert bracelet. It said VIP, June complained after the technician left. It said vendor in parking. Still. Fluid had gathered around her lungs. Her oxygen was low, her heart rhythm irregular. The emergency physician spoke in plain language and still managed to make every sentence sound like a door closing. We're admitting her. For how long? Leah asked. We'll know more after cardiology sees her. June turned her head on the pillow. Call Rosa and tell her Mr. Keating in 6 gets a $12 discount if the hot water takes longer than 3 minutes. You're going upstairs. That doesn't improve his shower. Leah called Rosa. By the time an orderly came to move June, Denise had called 3 times. Leah had ignored the first 2 because she could not bear to hear concern become management. On the 3rd, she answered. We're at St. Joseph's, she said. A sharp silence. What happened? Her heart. They're admitting her. How bad? I don't know. Where are you? I just told you. No. What floor? Still in the emergency department. I'm getting your father. Leah opened her mouth, but Denise had already hung up. Carl arrived 40 minutes later in his work clothes, a blue button-down shirt with the sleeves rolled precisely to his elbows. Denise followed carrying her purse, a cardigan, and a grocery tote stuffed with things no one had asked her to bring. Megan came separately, breathless from the parking garage. Carl stopped at the foot of June's bed. For a moment, he was not angry. He was simply a son looking at his mother beneath hospital lights. The expression made him seem younger, nearly unfamiliar. Then he saw Leah. How long has this been going on? Denise touched his arm. Carl. She's been having symptoms for months, Leah said. Months? She was diagnosed 2 years ago. His face changed. You knew? I found out this summer. And you left her running that place? I didn't leave her. I live there. You work all night. I'm there during the day. You sleep during the day. June opened her eyes. If anyone wants to discuss me as though I'm dead, charge admission. Carl moved to her side. Why didn't you tell me? Because you do this. Do what? Turn fear into an interrogation. I'm trying to understand why my 74-year-old mother was left alone behind a motel counter. She was alone for maybe 30 seconds, Leah said. He turned. You don't get to tell me what counts. And you do? Stop, Denise said. The word came out louder than any of them expected. Denise set the grocery tote on the floor. A paperback, a pair of socks, and a packet of peanut butter crackers spilled sideways. Everybody stop, she repeated. June looked down at the crackers. Are those for me? They're low sodium. They taste like insulation. Megan began picking things up. I'll eat them. You eat anything, Carl said automatically. Not insulation. I have standards. The familiar rhythm loosened something in the room. Only for a second, but Leah felt it. Then a nurse entered and asked 4 people to become 2. Carl and Denise stayed. Megan took Leah to the waiting area, where the chairs were molded plastic, and the television played a home renovation show with captions. Megan handed her a bottle of water. You look awful. You always say that. Because you keep giving me opportunities. Leah drank. Her hands had begun shaking now that no one was watching them closely. Dad's scared, Megan said. So am I. I didn't accuse him of causing it. He thinks if he can find the mistake, he can fix the result. That's comforting if you're the mistake. Megan sat beside her. She had changed from work into jeans, but still wore pearl earrings and lipstick. Leah noticed a pale stripe on one wrist, where Megan had removed her office watch in a hurry. I should have come to see you, Megan said. You knew where I was. I know. You sent a picture of an empty chair. I thought maybe you'd change your mind. Everyone keeps waiting for me to change my mind so nobody else has to change anything. Megan twisted the cap from her own water bottle, then put it back without drinking. Mom says your stuff is still stacked in the guest room. My old room is the guest room now. That's what she calls it. Efficient. Leah. The elevator opened, saving both of them from whatever might have come next. Denise stepped out and said cardiology was on the way. June was moved to a room on the 4th floor with a narrow window facing the parking garage. Machines measured her in green lines and soft beeps. A clear tube ran beneath her nose. Denise rearranged the toiletries 3 times. Carl stood by the window, answering work emails with both thumbs. When the cardiologist arrived, everyone became attentive in a different way. Denise wrote things down. Carl interrupted. Megan nodded at terms she did not understand. Leah watched June. The doctor said medication might remove the excess fluid, but June's heart was weaker than it had been. Her kidneys were complicating treatment. They would take it day by day. What happens after? Carl asked. We'll discuss discharge needs when we see how she responds. She'll come home with us. June turned her head. No. You cannot go back to the motel. I can go anywhere they discharge me. Mom, my house is there. It's not safe. It was safe enough when June stopped. The room seemed to tighten around the unfinished sentence. Carl looked at her. Whatever passed between them did not include anyone else, but Leah saw him step back from the bed. The cardiologist cleared his throat. These decisions don't need to be made tonight. Carl's jaw worked once. Fine. It was not fine. He left before visiting hours ended. Denise followed after smoothing June's blanket and telling Leah there were sandwiches in the tote. Megan offered to stay, but Leah said she had it. None of them asked if she needed clothes, sleep, or someone to take over. June waited until the door closed. You shouldn't fight with your father in hospitals, she said. He started it. You're both excellent historians when the subject is each other's sins. What were you going to say? When? You said the motel was safe enough when something. June looked toward the dark window. I'm tired. You use that whenever you don't want to answer. Today I have paperwork proving it. Leah adjusted the blanket over June's feet. Dad said you're going home with them. Your father says many things in rooms where he cannot move the furniture. You can't go back alone. I wasn't alone. I work nights. Rosa works days. Rosa has another job and a life. So do you. Leah looked at the green line moving across the monitor. I can take leave. No, it's my decision. June gave a weak smile. How quickly we become our parents. Leah sat back. June closed her eyes, then opened them again. Listen to me. You do not owe me your future because I gave you a sofa. I know. No, you don't. You turn every kindness into a bill because that makes owing feel safer. Can we have this conversation when you're not wearing oxygen? I might be less wise then. You might be more drugged now. Also possible. Leah took June's hand. The skin felt papery and warm. After a while, June said, Do you know why I kept the sunset? Leah waited. Some years it paid me. Some years it punished me. Mostly I knew how to wake up there. That's not a reason. It is when you get old enough. Dad thinks you kept it to make people take care of you. Your father needs every choice to be about him. It saves time. Was it? June rubbed her thumb across Leah's knuckles. Don't keep any building to prove you love a person. Buildings are greedy. They'll take everything and still need a roof. Leah smiled despite herself. That sounds like advice you didn't follow. It usually is. June improved over the next 2 days. She complained about the coffee, argued with a dietitian, and called Rosa 6 times with instructions Rosa ignored. On the 3rd afternoon, she sat in a chair beside the bed and ate half a bowl of soup. Carl visited alone. Leah went downstairs to give them privacy. He stayed 23 minutes. When he emerged from the elevator, his eyes were red, but his face had already hardened around it. What did she say? Leah asked. That you should get some sleep. That's all? That's enough. He walked away before she could stop him. That night, June's breathing worsened. The nurse asked Leah to step into the hall while a team entered the room. Leah stood beside a cart of folded linens and watched through the narrow window in the door, as strangers leaned over the woman who had taught her to count change, swear at fitted sheets, and distrust any guest who requested 12 extra towels. Just before dawn, a doctor led Leah into a consultation room with 2 chairs and no windows. When Leah returned to the 4th floor, June's room was quiet. Someone had turned off the monitor. Her glasses rested folded beside the untouched pudding cup on the tray. Leah sat down and pressed the call button once. No one came. She pressed it again, listening to the same small bell June had used from the office floor, and understood that there was no longer anyone in the world who would answer it in June's voice. The nurse found her still holding the call button. She crouched beside Leah instead of asking her to move, and spoke in the careful voice people used when there was nothing left to fix. June's belongings would be gathered. The doctor could answer questions. Leah could stay as long as she needed. Leah looked at the pudding cup. It was vanilla, she said. The nurse followed her gaze. Would you like me to take the tray? She hated chocolate pudding. All right. They kept bringing chocolate. The nurse nodded as if this mattered, which made Leah begin to cry. Denise arrived first. She entered June's room with both hands pressed over her mouth, crossed to the bed, and smoothed June's hair back from her forehead. The motion was so tender that Leah resented it. Tenderness after death asked nothing of anyone. Carl stopped in the doorway. He did not approach the bed for several seconds. When he finally did, he touched June's bare foot beneath the blanket, then immediately turned to the nurse and asked what forms needed to be signed. Megan wrapped both arms around Leah. Leah stood stiffly before giving in and gripping the back of her sister's shirt. I'm sorry, Megan whispered. Leah wanted to say, for what? There were too many possible answers. Carl handled the hospital paperwork. Denise called the funeral home. Megan drove Leah back to the Sunset, because everyone agreed Leah should not be behind a wheel, though no one asked where her car would remain. The motel looked offensively unchanged. The vacancy sign still glowed red in the early morning. A paper cup sat on the ledge outside room 6. Someone had parked badly across 2 spaces. Rosa stood behind the office counter pouring coffee into the stained mug June never gave guests. When Leah entered, Rosa turned off the pot. She's gone, Leah said. Rosa closed her eyes. That was all. No disbelief, no question meant to delay the answer. She set down the mug, walked around the counter, and held Leah so firmly that Leah's teeth pressed against Rosa's shoulder. Megan stood by the door, crying quietly. After a minute, Rosa released Leah and wiped her own face with both hands. Mr. Keating checked out, she said. The couple in 3 paid cash. I put it in the drawer. Leah stared at her. What? Rosa asked. You're telling me about room 3? What else should I tell you? I cannot tell you something that makes this better. There are still guests? 2 rooms. I told them the office is closed until noon. Why noon? I had to tell them something. Leah looked toward the desk chair. June's cardigan hung over the back. Her reading glasses lay open beside the reservation book. We should close, Megan said. Rosa and Leah both turned toward her. I mean, for a few days, Megan said. Obviously. People are already here, Leah replied. They can go somewhere else. The nearest place charges twice as much. Leah, Grandma died 6 hours ago. I know when she died. Rosa put a hand on Leah's arm. Go sleep. I need to call the rooms. I will call the rooms. I need to turn off the sign. I will turn off the sign. Leah pulled away. Everyone keeps telling me what they'll do after it's already too late. The words struck Megan, though they had not been aimed only at her. Rosa's face tightened. She took the cardigan from the chair, folded it once, and set it on the counter. Then turn off the sign, she said. Leah went outside. Morning traffic moved along the road. The sun was coming up behind the motel, laying the building's long shadow across the lot. She put her hand on the switch. For years, June had turned the sign on at dusk and off after sunrise. Vacancy had not meant emptiness to her. It had meant there was still room. Leah turned it off anyway. Carl chose a funeral home with beige wallpaper and chairs upholstered in a pattern designed to conceal stains. He chose a mahogany-colored casket because actual mahogany cost more. He chose lilies, a church service, and an organist. June had once described as a man who plays every hymn like he's warning ships away from rocks. At the planning table, the funeral director asked what June had enjoyed. Gardening, Denise said. She killed everything except geraniums, Leah said. Denise looked wounded. She liked flowers. She liked buying flowers. The plants had their own experience. The funeral director waited with his pen raised. She liked people, Megan offered. Carl said. She liked that motel. The room quieted. It was the first time Leah had heard him acknowledge the sunset without contempt. The funeral director wrote something down. Would you like that included in the obituary? Carl's expression closed again. Just say she was a local business owner. She owned it 38 years, Leah said. Then people know. Some people don't. Leah, this isn't an advertisement. No, it's supposed to be her life. Denise touched the edge of a tissue to her eyes. Please don't make this another fight. Leah pushed back from the table. I'm not the one who makes everything a fight. Carl looked at her across the casket brochures. Not today. He said it as if grief had appointed him the only adult in the room. Leah left before the funeral director reached favorite songs. At the service, the organist played exactly as June had predicted. The church filled beyond what Carl had expected. Former guests came in work boots, suits, scrubs, and one bright purple tracksuit. Gary Loomis placed a toilet handle in the casket before Denise noticed what it was. Mrs. Hanley cried through the entire service, then confessed to Rosa that she had stolen 6 towels over 12 years. She knew, Rosa said. Why didn't she charge me? She did. Your rate was $4 higher. Mrs. Hanley laughed so hard she had to sit down. People told stories in the church vestibule. June had given a stranded salesman 3 free nights after his transmission failed. She had kept the lobby open until dawn, for a woman afraid to return home after leaving her husband. She once removed a snake from room 5 using an ice bucket, and language a retired minister still refused to repeat. Carl stood beside the guest book, receiving each story as if it described a woman he had not expected to share. A broad-shouldered man with white hair approached him and said, Your mother helped me when I didn't deserve it. Carl's face went pale. Leah noticed, but before she could hear more, another guest embraced her and began explaining which room he had stayed in during a winter storm. When Leah looked back, the white-haired man had disappeared into the crowd. At the cemetery, Carl kept one hand on the casket until the attendants asked the family to step away. Afterward, everyone gathered at Leah's parents' house. Denise had ordered trays of food no one wanted. The blue linen napkins were folded beside plastic plates. Leah stood in the kitchen where her graduation dinner had ended and felt as though she had wandered into a duplicate of her life with several important objects removed. Her old bedroom door was open. Inside, boxes of sympathy cards and extra folding chairs had replaced her furniture. Denise found Leah looking. We didn't know when you were coming back, she said. You packed everything I owned. Your father was angry. So, you thought I'd be gone long enough to redecorate? We needed somewhere to put things. Leah turned toward her. You always find somewhere to put things you don't want to look at. Denise flinched. For a second, Leah expected anger. Instead, her mother sat on the edge of the stripped bed. I thought you'd come home the next day, she said. I thought if I helped him pack your things, it would burn itself out faster. You changed the lock, your father changed it, and you watched. Denise clasped her hands. I called you every Sunday. You talked about weather. What was I supposed to say? The truth would have filled 5 minutes. From downstairs came the sound of someone dropping a serving spoon. Denise looked toward it automatically. Stay tonight, she said. Please. Leah thought of the office sofa, June's cardigan, and the dark vacancy sign. No. Her mother's mouth tightened. You don't make it easy to help you. I'm starting to think easy help isn't worth much. She returned to the sunset before dark. The reading of June's will took place 11 days later in the office of Elaine Porter, an attorney who wore green glasses and kept peppermint candies in a crystal bowl. The will was brief. June left her bank accounts to Carl, who would use them to settle her final expenses and divide what remained equally with Megan. Megan received June's jewelry and cedar chest. Denise received the furniture and personal belongings in the manager's apartment, with family members permitted to choose sentimental items by agreement. To Leah, June left the Sunset Lodge, including the land, buildings, furnishings used in the business, and everything owed by the business. Elaine removed her glasses. That last part matters. "How much is owed?" Carl asked. "Final figures are still coming in. There are unpaid property taxes, supplier balances, and deferred maintenance." Carl leaned back. He did not look surprised. Megan touched Leah's wrist. "You got the motel?" Leah stared at the photocopied page in front of her. June's signature slanted uphill at the bottom. Denise said, "Maybe this isn't the moment to decide anything." "It is exactly the moment," Carl said. "Elaine, can Leah disclaim the property?" "Yes." "And then?" "It passes into the residuary estate, which means me, after obligations are resolved." Carl turned to Leah. "Walk away." She could hear the ice machine dropping another load in her memory. "You haven't even asked what I want. I know what that place costs. You haven't been there in years. I know more about it than you think." Elaine glanced between them. Carl lowered his voice. "Sign it over. I'll clear the debts, tear it down, and you can start your life without a concrete block tied around your neck." Leah looked at June's signature. "No." Carl's laugh held no humor. "You think inheriting something makes it a gift? I think you wanting it gone this badly means you don't get to decide." She left before he could answer. A county vehicle was parked at the Sunset when she arrived. The inspector had come for the overdue lodging license review June had postponed during the summer. He spent 2 hours opening electrical panels, testing alarms, photographing water damage, and kneeling beside the damp ground behind room 7. At sunset, he taped a red notice inside the office window. "Unsafe for occupancy." Leah read it 3 times before the words arranged themselves into meaning. Behind her, the vacancy sign flickered on by itself, its timer unaware that the Sunset was no longer allowed to have guests. Leah reached behind the desk and killed the timer before the red tubes could finish warming. The inspector watched from the parking lot. His name was Bernard Cole, and he had the weary manners of a man accustomed to being hated for noticing things. He waited until she came outside, then held out a thick packet clipped to a yellow board. "I know this is a lot. You put a sticker on the window that says, 'I can't use my own building.' I put a notice on it. It has glue. It's a sticker." His mouth tightened, though not quite into a smile. "No one can sleep here tonight. That includes you. I live in the apartment. The apartment shares the electrical service. I've been living here for months. That doesn't make the wiring safer." She looked down at the packet. Every page contained photographs of something familiar made ugly by a flash. Blackened wires inside a panel, a stain beneath the roof, corrosion on a pipe, the damp ground behind room 7. "What do I have to fix?" "All of it eventually. Before any room reopens, you need a licensed electrician to address the immediate hazards, a functioning interconnected alarm system, safe egress from every rentable unit, and a repair plan for the sewer leak and damaged roof section. How long do I have? To submit the plan? 30 days. Depending on what it says and whether the immediate hazards are secured, we can discuss a correction schedule. And if I don't?" Cole looked at the building rather than at her. "The county can begin enforcement. Fines first. Other remedies if the property continues deteriorating." "You mean demolition?" "I mean, don't ignore the notices. My grandmother was in the hospital." "I know. You still came?" "Ms. Mercer, I postponed this inspection twice at your grandmother's request. I am sorry she died. I'm also glad that panel didn't kill her." That stopped Leah. Cole handed her a business card. "Call me after an electrician has isolated the unsafe circuits. If the manager's apartment can be separated and cleared, I'll re-inspect that portion, so I might be allowed to live here." "Might. How generous." He accepted the insult without reacting. "Do you have guests?" "2 rooms. You need to relocate them. They paid for the week, then refund them." "With what?" He had no answer that would help her. Room 3 belonged to a traveling phlebotomist named Carla Mendez, who had already left for her hospital shift. Room 9 held a retired couple from Indiana, who were visiting the husband's brother after surgery. Leah stood in the office with the red notice behind her and called the Hawthorne. Nia answered on the second ring. Night desk. It's Leah. You're not due until 11. I need 2 rooms. At the employee rate? At the please don't make me cry rate. Nia paused. What happened? Leah told her. Hold. Music played for less than a minute. Then Nia returned with 2 rooms at a rate low enough that the sunset could cover most of the difference. I can hold them until 8, Nia said. Are you all right? Yes. That answer was aggressively fast. I have guests waiting. Call after you move them. The Indiana couple took the news kindly until the wife saw the condemnation notice. Then she began checking the ceiling as if pieces might fall immediately. We slept here last night, she said. I know. Was it unsafe last night? Leah resisted the urge to say the building had not learned anything new that morning. I'm sorry, I've arranged a room at another hotel, and I'll refund the unused nights. Your grandmother never had trouble like this. Leah looked at the dark outline where June's cardigan had hung over the chair. My grandmother was very good at not showing trouble. After they left, Leah packed Carla's toiletries and folded clothes into her suitcase with Rosa as a witness. They drove the belongings to the Hawthorne and left them behind the desk for Carla to collect. By 9, no guest remained at the sunset. Leah taped a white sheet of paper over the vacancy sign. Closed for repairs, she wrote. The marker squeaked on the final S. Where are you sleeping? Rosa asked. I'll figure it out. That means nowhere. The Hawthorne has rooms. You cannot afford the Hawthorne. Employee rate. You still cannot afford it. Leah set the marker down harder than necessary. I am not moving into your house. I didn't invite you. Good. I was going to invite you. Then I saved us time. Rosa studied her. Being difficult is not the same as being independent. I know that. No, your whole family has confused the two. Leah went into the storage room and packed a work uniform, toiletries, and the least wrinkled clothes she could find. The silver graduation cap had tipped sideways on its shelf. She straightened it, then immediately felt foolish for doing so. Her phone rang. Carl. She almost let it go to voicemail. Then she imagined Bernard Cole calling Elaine Porter, Elaine calling Carl, and everyone discussing her property while she hid behind silence. What? She answered. I heard. News travels. Elaine called. Are you at the motel? Yes. Stay there. Bernard Cole says I'm legally not allowed. I'm coming. That isn't what I meant. Carl hung up. He arrived 26 minutes later in his truck. He parked near the office, got out, and stared at the red notice from a distance. For a man who claimed the sunset was nothing but concrete block and bad decisions, he seemed unable to approach it casually. Rosa stood in the office doorway with her arms folded. Hello, Rosa, he said. Carl. When did the place last pass inspection? You can read the report like everyone else. I asked a question, and I disliked it. Leah stepped between them. Why are you here? To get you. I'm not going with you. You have nowhere to stay. I work at a hotel. You're not sleeping in a hotel lobby. That still isn't your decision. His eyes moved to the garbage bag in her hand. He recognized it. Denise had bought the box. Something like embarrassment crossed his face. Come home tonight, he said. We'll deal with the rest tomorrow. The invitation was so close to what Leah had wanted on the driveway that her body responded before her pride did. Her shoulders loosened. For half a second, she imagined her old bed restored, Denise leaving a folded towel outside the bathroom, Carl making coffee and refusing to call the whole thing an apology. Then he added, You can sign the transfer papers this week. Leah laughed. Carl's face hardened. What? You almost did it. Did what? Ask me home without charging me the motel. I am offering to get you out of an unsafe building. You're offering a trade. It is condemned, Leah. So was I, apparently. Do not be theatrical. Do not pretend this is concern when you're still trying to make me obey. Carl looked toward the room doors. His attention caught on room 8, though there was nothing different about it except a rust stain below the light fixture. You cannot fix this place, he said. You don't know what I can fix. I know exactly what it takes. Then tell me. He looked at her. What's wrong with the sewer line? She asked. Why does the panel in 10 have 2 dead circuits? When was the roof last replaced? You say you know this place, so help me. I am helping you. No, you're waiting for it to beat me so you can call yourself right. Rosa stepped back into the office, giving them privacy without giving Carl the satisfaction of having driven her away. He lowered his voice. Your grandmother spent money she did not have, keeping these rooms open for people who would have gone somewhere else. She let the place eat her life. I'm not watching it eat yours, then don't watch. She picked up her bag and walked past him to her car. The employee rate at the Hawthorne still cost more than Leah earned in half a shift. She rented a room for one night, showered, and lay awake in a king-size bed that felt indecently large. The air conditioner made no hostile vibration. The smoke detector blinked at regular intervals. Every lamp worked. At 2 in the morning, she returned to the lobby and found Nia behind the desk. "You're supposed to be sleeping," Nia said. "I don't seem to know how in beds. Bad news for your career." Nia poured coffee into a paper cup and slid it across the counter. She did not ask Leah what she planned to do. Leah was grateful enough to nearly cry again. The next week reduced the sunset to numbers. An electrician wanted $3,800 to isolate the dangerous circuits and replace the worst section of the service panel. A roofing company estimated $12,000 for the damaged wing. The sewer repair could not be priced until the line was excavated. Fire alarms, emergency lights, permits, taxes. Each item was manageable alone and impossible together. Leah slept 2 nights at the Hawthorne, 1 in her car, and 3 on Rosa's sofa after Rosa stopped asking. She also found 6 unpaid checks in June's desk, each written to Rosa and never mailed. When Leah laid them on Rosa's kitchen table, Rosa did not look surprised. "She said she was waiting for deposits," Rosa said. "This is almost 2 months. She paid some cash. How much does she owe you?" Rosa named the amount. Leah stared. "Why did you keep working?" "Because she was sick. Because I was stupid." "Because those are sometimes the same reason. I'll pay it." "With what?" "I'll sell my car." "No, it's an asset. It is how you get to work. There's a bus from the highway. At 10 at night, I'll adjust my shifts." Rosa pushed the checks back toward her. "I will not take your car. You are taking what she owed you. June owed me. You are not June. I inherited everything owed by the business. That is paper. It's also right." Within 4 days, Leah sold the car to a used dealer for less than Carl would have said it was worth and more than Rosa wanted her to sacrifice. She paid Rosa in full. Rosa accepted the money with tears in her eyes and anger in every movement. Then she said, "I am not cleaning one more room for free. I'm not asking you to." "Good. I need help emptying them." "That is different work." "What's your rate?" Rosa told her. Leah held out her hand. Starting Monday, they shook. An electrician isolated the unsafe circuits the following week. Bernard Cole returned, tested the manager's apartment, and removed the no occupancy restriction from that small portion only. The red notice remained on the office window, and every guest room stayed closed. Leah carried her clothes from Rosa's house into June's apartment. On the kitchen table, she spread the inspection report, the repair estimates, the property tax bill, and a blank 30-day correction plan. She circled 4 rooms on a photocopied layout, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Closest to the office, least water damage. 1 shared stretch of roof. Outside, the covered vacancy sign shifted in the wind. Leah picked up a pen. For the first time since inheriting the sunset, she stopped asking whether she could save all of it and began deciding what, exactly, she would save first. The blank correction plan did not become less blank when Leah stared at it. At 3 in the morning, she sat at June's kitchen table with a calculator, a legal pad, and 3 versions of the truth. The first version repaired everything Bernard Cole had photographed and cost more than Leah would earn in 4 years. The second fixed the 4 rooms she had circled, stabilized the rest, and required every dollar she had, plus several she did not. The third version was mostly optimism formatted into columns. She submitted the second. Cole called while Leah was sleeping after a Hawthorne shift. His voice came through the phone beside her pillow. "You can't list owner labor for electrical work. I'm not doing the electrical. It reads like you are. I'm doing demolition and finish work. Then say that." She sat up and found the report on the floor beside the bed. "Does that mean you'll accept it if I change the wording? It means I'll continue reading. Do you enjoy giving good news in the least satisfying way possible?" "I work for the county." She revised the plan. Cole approved it provisionally, with inspections required before any room returned to service and a deadline for securing the damaged rear wing. The approval did not provide money, labor, or sleep. It simply changed the Sunset from a condemned property awaiting deterioration into a condemned property with homework. Leah began with things she could remove. The broken vending machine produced $34 in scrap metal and one petrified peanut butter cracker. The ice dispenser beside room 10 brought $60 from a restaurant owner who wanted its compressor. A man offered $20 for all the brass room keys, and Leah told him to leave before Rosa could hear. "They are keys," Rosa said afterward. "They're original. They are heavy, and guests lose them. They have the room numbers stamped into them. So do the doors." Leah kept the keys. They stripped rooms 3 through 6 to concrete floors. Old carpet came up in damp, stubborn sections. Behind the headboard in room 5, Rosa found $14, a red plastic poker chip, and a note containing only the words, "Don't call Larry." "Should we call him?" Leah asked. "Never." The work developed its own rhythm. Leah cut and pulled. Rosa sorted what could be reused. A retired painter named Dennis, who had stayed at the Sunset during a divorce and heard about June's funeral, painted 2 rooms in exchange for what he called the old rate once they reopened. Leah refused at first. "I'm not taking free labor. I didn't offer free," Dennis said. "I offered paint for future sleep. What if we don't reopen? Then I painted a wall. I have survived worse investments." Rosa watched Leah from the doorway until she agreed. At the Hawthorne, Nia began scheduling Leah's nights together so she could have longer stretches at the motel. Leah thanked her by arriving late twice when the evening bus failed to come. "Get a ride," Nia said after the second time. "I sold my car." "I know. How?" "You smell like bus. I'm not asking people to drive 40 minutes out of their way. You keep using the word asking like it means robbing." Nia slid the attendance sheet across the desk. "Third late arrival becomes a written warning. Grief is not a transportation plan." Leah signed the sheet. The next night, she accepted a ride from a breakfast cook who lived 6 miles from the Sunset. He talked the entire way about competitive barbecue and refused gas money because, he said, she could pay him by never entering a brisket contest. By November, rooms 3 and 4 had new wiring, smoke detectors, and emergency lights. Room 5 still needed bathroom tile. Room 6 had developed a stain on its ceiling in the shape of Florida. Leah was standing on a ladder tracing the stain when Megan walked in carrying an empty plastic storage bin. "You have a leak," Megan said. "I thought it was decorative. It's spreading. That's what Florida does." Megan wore a camel-colored coat and boots too clean for the room. She turned slowly, taking in the stripped floor, fresh paint, and boxes of fixtures. "I didn't know you'd done this much. You haven't been here. I've been working. So have I." Megan set down the bin. "Mom said we're supposed to go through Grandma's things this weekend. Mom has keys. She said you changed the lock, the office lock. Half the town had a key. Apparently Mom was half the town. What are you here for?" Megan looked toward the manager's apartment. "Grandma's blue quilts, the ones from rooms 8 and 9. She told me I could have them. They're motel furnishings. She made them. She made them for the motel. She told me at Christmas that I should take them." "And you waited until she died?" Megan's face changed. That was low. Leah climbed down from the ladder. "I'm tired. That's not an apology, I know." For several seconds they stood in the partially finished room, listening to rain tap the window. Megan picked up the storage bin. Elaine said, "Personal gifts are supposed to be handled by agreement. Then we don't agree. Dad said, 'You do this.' Of course he did. He said you'd turn every object into a loyalty test. Interesting from the man who offered me a bed if I surrendered the property." Megan set the bin down again. "You know what? I came here prepared to be nice. You brought a container. For 2 quilts. You brought a container so you wouldn't have to touch anything else." Megan stared at her. "What is that supposed to mean? It means you like Grandma better now that she's clean and folded." The slap did not come. Megan was not a slapper. She became very still, which in some ways was worse. "You think you were the only person who loved her because you slept on her sofa," she said. "But when Grandma called me, she didn't ask about my life. She asked where you were. At the funeral, people introduced me as Leah's sister. And now, you own the building where every good story about her happened. I own the bills. You also own the right to stand in every room and tell the rest of us we arrived too late." Leah's mouth went dry. Megan looked up at the stain. "Dad was wrong to throw you out. Mom was wrong to help him. I was wrong to stand there. I know that. But you don't get to make me stop missing Grandma because you're better at suffering." She walked toward the door. Leah said, The quilts are in the apartment closet. Megan stopped. Take them, Leah said. They still smell like mothballs. Megan did not thank her. In the apartment, she folded the quilts into the bin with care. One was blue and white, stitched in a pattern of interlocking rings. The other was made from squares of old sunset curtains. Coral stripes faded almost pink. Megan ran her thumb over a crooked seam. I can photograph the rooms, she said. I didn't ask. I didn't say you did. You think pictures will make this look less condemned? I think the rooms look different from the road. Leah leaned against the closet door. I don't need a rescue campaign. You need customers eventually. I need inspections. Those things can happen in sequence. It sounded annoyingly reasonable. Megan took out her phone and photographed room 4, framing the new blue door against the fresh white wall. She photographed Dennis's paint-spattered radio, the row of cleaned brass keys, and Leah standing beneath the covered vacancy sign before Leah realized she was in the shot. Delete that. No. I look terrible. Authenticity. I'm holding a toilet seat. Hospitality. Megan's smile appeared and disappeared so quickly that Leah almost answered it. She posted nothing that day. She left with the quilts and the photographs, and the sisters did not speak again for 2 weeks. Then a windstorm pulled the temporary covering from the roof. Leah woke at 1 in the morning to rain striking the kitchen floor. Water ran down the apartment wall, across the office ceiling, and through room 6, where Florida became the entire eastern seaboard. She and Rosa spent 3 hours moving supplies into dry rooms and placing trash cans beneath the worst drips. The tarp had cost $400. The fresh ceiling work in room 6 had cost more. At dawn, Leah sat on an overturned paint bucket with wet hair plastered to her forehead. Rosa handed her coffee. Say it, Leah said. What? That Dad was right. I do not work for your father. The room was almost done. The room is still there. The ceiling isn't. Parts of it are. Leah laughed, then covered her face and began to cry. Rosa sat beside her without touching her. After a while, she said, June would have used old pool furniture to hold down that tarp. It would have blown away. Yes, she would have said it was fine. Yes, it wasn't fine. No. That answer steadied Leah more than comfort would have. A message appeared on her phone from an unfamiliar name. It referred to a photograph Megan had posted overnight. The Sunset Lodge had been my home for 6 weeks in 1998. If you reopen, I want the first weekend in room 4. There were 11 more messages beneath it. Former guests shared pictures of the pool before it was drained, the striped awning, June behind the desk in sunglasses. One woman offered to pay in advance for 2 nights. Dennis commented that room 3 would be worth seeing because, in his unbiased opinion, the painter was gifted. Leah called Megan. You posted them. You needed people to know it wasn't dead. I told you I didn't want a rescue campaign. It isn't one. I didn't ask for money. Someone wants to pay in advance. Then say no. Leah looked at room 6, where water still dripped into a trash can. I might say yes. Megan was quiet. Then give them a cancellation guarantee. Put the money in a separate account. Don't spend it until the rooms pass. Leah frowned. How do you know that? I organize corporate events for a living. My job is mostly preventing optimistic people from spending deposits. It was the first useful fact about Megan's work Leah could remember learning. They created a simple reopening page. No sob story. No claims that June had left a treasure. Just photographs, a description of the 4-room restoration, and reservations refundable until the county approved occupancy. 23 former guests booked nights over the next 3 months. The deposits were not enough to replace the roof. They were enough to buy the fire alarm system. Leah took every reservation as a promise and feared each one accordingly. The damaged roof section was finally repaired in January. Room 6 received a new ceiling. Rosa cleaned every surface twice. Dennis repainted the patch without charging another future night, though he insisted this was because he hated matching old paint, not because he was generous. Bernard Cole arrived on a cold afternoon carrying his yellow board. He tested alarms, outlets, emergency lights, door locks, water temperature, and the repaired sewer connection. He wrote for so long that Leah began counting the breaths between strokes of his pen. At last, he removed the red notice from the office window. 4 rooms, he said, 3 through 6, nothing else. Leah looked at the empty glass where the notice had been. Can I turn on the sign? Cole glanced at the white paper still covering it. For 4 rooms, he said. Leah went outside with Rosa. Together they peeled away the weather-softened paper. The red tubes beneath it were dusty, but unbroken. When Leah flipped the switch, the V buzzed, the A flickered, and the remaining letters glowed steadily against the winter dusk. For the first time since June died, vacancy did not mean something had been taken. It meant there was room again. The first guest arrived before Leah had finished celebrating. She and Rosa were still standing beneath the vacancy sign when Gary Loomis pulled into the lot in a different truck, but the same camouflage cap. He climbed out carrying a small suitcase and a toilet tank handle tied with a red ribbon. "I heard you were taking reservations." "We opened 6 minutes ago," Leah said. "I was down the road." "You live 3 counties away. Roads are long." He handed her the toilet handle. A gift tag hung from it. "For room 4, in case of emergency." Rosa took it from Leah and examined the ribbon. "You clean this?" "Bleach." "Keep the ribbon," Rosa said. "We'll burn the rest." Gary booked 2 nights in room 4. He paid the new rate without complaining, which made Leah worry she had set it too low. Then he asked if the toilet had been replaced. "Completely." Shame. We understood each other. At the desk, Leah slid the brass key across the counter. June had attached a blue plastic diamond to it years earlier and written a warning on masking tape. "Lock sticks. Pull door." Gary closed his fingers around it, but did not move. "She'd be proud," he said. Leah reached for the registration card. "Checkout is 11. He nodded as if he understood. That was the only answer she could give. After he entered the room, Leah printed the receipt and noticed her hands were shaking. 4 open doors should not have felt more dangerous than 12 closed ones. Closed rooms could not disappoint anyone. Rosa set the ceremonial toilet handle beneath the desk. "You need to eat. I had toast." "When?" "Recently." "Was June alive?" Leah looked at her. "Too far?" Rosa asked. "A little." "Then I'm improving." The first week brought 6 guests and 43 problems, most of them small enough to be embarrassing. The television in room 3 lost its signal whenever the microwave ran. The new shower head and 5 sprayed water over the curtain rod. Gary discovered that the toilet worked perfectly, but the bathroom door would not remain open, which he described as 1 step forward, 1 door backward. Leah handled each complaint the way Nia had taught her. Listen, acknowledge, solve what could be solved, and never blame the building where the guests could hear. She blamed it extensively in the laundry room. The reservation page helped, but old affection did not fill rooms on Tuesday nights. Deposits paid for materials. Operating costs consumed the actual room revenue. Leah continued working at the Hawthorne and learned to sleep in pieces, 4 hours after a night shift, 1 hour on the bus, 20 minutes in the office chair while the washing machine finished. Rosa insisted on a written schedule. "You cannot call me every time somebody uses all the towels," she said. "They use 12, then buy more. We have more. I'm describing the disrespect. Do that with a therapist?" Leah bought more towels. Megan updated the reopening page from her own apartment. She corrected room descriptions, added cancellation terms, and refused to use the phrase historic charm. "The bathroom tile is historic," Leah argued over the phone. "The shower pressure is historic. Atmosphere, liability." They settled on restored roadside motel. Megan came every other Saturday to take photographs. At first she stayed behind the camera, framing doorways and lamps so the unfinished sections did not show. Then she began bringing work clothes in a tote and helping Leah tag linens or assemble lamps after the pictures were done. Neither sister mentioned the day Megan stood on the porch while their mother carried garbage bags down the driveway. The silence was not forgiveness. It was a board laid across a hole, useful as long as neither stepped wrong. Denise came in February with a slow cooker. She entered the office holding it against her chest. "I made beef stew." Leah looked through the glass for Carl's truck. "He's at work. I didn't ask." "You looked." Denise set the cooker on the counter. "There's enough for you and Rosa. What do you want?" "To bring you dinner. You drove 40 minutes with an appliance. It travels better this way." Leah lifted the lid. Steam fogged her glasses. The stew smelled like Sunday evenings at home, before Sunday calls became weather reports. Denise glanced around the office. "It looks good." 4 rooms are open, Megan told me. Of course she did. She's excited for you. She has an unusual way of showing it. She learned that from her father. Leah looked at her mother. Denise adjusted the slow cooker's cord, though it was not plugged in. He asks about the motel. Does he? Every day. He has my number. You know how he is? I know exactly how he is. That's why that sentence stopped working. Denise's expression folded inward. I'm trying. You brought stew. It's what I know how to do. Then learn something else. The cruelty of it reached Leah as soon as she said it. Denise flinched and picked up her purse. Mom, I should go. You don't have to. I don't want to make this harder. That's what you always say before you leave me with the hard part. Denise stood with one hand on the door. For once, she did not defend herself. I packed your lamp in a towel, she said. Do you remember? Leah did. I was careful with it. I kept thinking that meant I wasn't doing what I was doing. The office seemed very quiet. Denise looked at the red vacancy sign through the glass. I'm sorry, Leah. It was not the full truth Leah needed, but it was the first sentence that did not step around it. Thank you for the stew, she said. Her mother nodded and left, before either of them turned the moment into something easier. The next setback came through the rear wall. Someone entered rooms 11 and 12 overnight and tore out copper pipe from the bathrooms. Those rooms had been closed, their windows boarded, but the thief pried open a service door hidden from the road. Leah discovered it when she heard water beneath the building. By the time the shutoff valve turned, mud covered her shoes, and 2 sections of insulation were ruined. Carl would have called the theft proof. Proof that the sunset attracted the wrong people. Proof that Leah could not protect it. Proof that every dollar placed there would disappear into a wall. Leah did not call him. She filed a report, reinforced the rear doors, and paid for replacement shutoff valves instead of new pipe. Rooms 11 and 12 moved to the bottom of the plan. Rosa found her afterwards sitting on the drained pool's edge with her feet on the tarp. You look like you want to burn it down, Rosa said. Briefly, you cannot. Fire department already knows the address. Leah laughed. Rosa sat beside her. The tarp dipped under their weight, but held. You can stop, Rosa said. I know. No, you say you know, and then look offended. I'm not offended. You look exactly like June when the bank told her to sell. Leah turned. You told her to sell too. Yes. Did you think she should? Many times. Then why did you stay? Rosa considered the boarded rooms. Because leaving a person and agreeing with them are different things. The motel did not become easier after that. It became more specific. 4 rentable rooms produced enough income to cover their own utilities and begin work on 2 more. Leah replaced the damaged plumbing in 7, tiled the bathroom in 8, and paid an electrician in 3 installments. She kept the old brass keys, despite Rosa's complaints, but ordered duplicates for the office. Room 8 took longer than the others. Its wall air conditioner had leaked for years, rotting the lower trim. The closet door bore shallow knife marks around the latch. Beneath 3 layers of paint, Leah found the original coral color June had used. She left a small square exposed inside the closet, a private window into the room's earlier life. Megan posted a photograph. A man named Thomas Wade sent a message within the hour. Is that room 8? I lived out of that room for 7 months when I was young and working highway jobs. If you ever open it, I'll rent it for a week. Leah replied that the room was not yet approved. His answer came back immediately. I've waited 36 years. Finish the bathroom. She smiled and added his name to the reservation list. In March, Bernard Cole approved rooms 7 and 8. He still did not smile, but he stood outside the blue doors and said, You're doing better work than the minimum. Leah leaned against the railing. Was that praise? Don't make it strange. The spring bookings improved. Traveling nurses took 3-week stays. Utility workers filled rooms after storms. A furniture salesman booked every other Tuesday and left peppermint candies on his pillow for Rosa. The sunset was not making Leah rich. It was making its own payments, which felt more miraculous. Thomas Wade arrived on a rainy Monday afternoon, driving a silver sedan with company samples stacked in the back seat. He was 61, broad through the shoulders, with white hair cut close, and a weathered leather case in one hand. Leah recognized him before he introduced himself. He was the man from June's funeral who had told Carl that June helped him when he did not deserve it. Room 8, he said at the desk. Tell me you saved it. Passed inspection last month. Does the air conditioner still leak? Only when it's nostalgic. He laughed and signed the registration card as Thomas Tommy Wade, Industrial Equipment Sales. His address was in Kentucky. Leah handed him the brass key. Tommy weighed it in his palm. Same key tag. Not the same key. People lose them. Your grandmother used to charge $5 for that. 20 now. Inflation. He turned toward the door, then stopped. On the wall behind the desk hung a framed photograph Denise had given Leah after the funeral. June stood in front of the sunset in 1987, her arm around a younger Carl. His hair was long, his shirt sleeves cut off, and a paint roller rested across one shoulder. Tommy walked closer. For several seconds, he said nothing. "You knew my grandmother," Leah said. Tommy looked from the photograph to the key in his hand. "I knew your father." Something in his voice made Leah stand straighter. "He never mentioned you." "No," Tommy said. "I don't imagine he would." He touched one finger to the glass over Carl's face. "Your father lived in room 8 before I did." Leah looked toward the row of rooms, as if the door to 8 might have heard him. "My father never lived here." Tommy gave the photograph one last look. "Then he has improved the story." "What story?" He slipped the brass key into his jacket pocket. "I have been driving since 5. Is there still a diner in town that serves meatloaf on Mondays?" "You can't say something like that and ask about meatloaf." "I can if I'm hungry." "Mr. Wade." Tommy, my father has spent my entire life acting like this. Motel was a rash. The family should stop scratching. He wouldn't come inside. He wouldn't pick me up here." Tommy rested his leather case on the counter. Rainwater darkened the shoulders of his jacket. "That sounds like Carl. It doesn't sound like someone who lived in room 8. It sounds exactly like someone who lived in room 8. The office door opened behind him, and a respiratory therapist in room 3 entered to ask whether a package had arrived. Leah checked beneath the desk, found the box, and made herself smile while the woman signed for it. Tommy waited without impatience. When they were alone again, Leah said, "How long?" "Your guest is holding an oxygen hose. You should probably let her get back to work." "How long did Dad live here?" "Better part of a year." "You're sure it was him?" "I was 25, not blind." "He would have been, what, 20? 21 when we met," Leah calculated backward. Carl had told her he'd left college after deciding the program was useless. He had called it the first intelligent business choice of his life. In every version, he rented an apartment, worked warehouse shifts, and saved enough to start hauling construction supplies in a borrowed truck. The photograph showed him with a paint roller in front of the office. Why was he here? Tommy glanced toward the door. That's his story. He doesn't tell it. That doesn't make it mine. Leah's surprise turned hot. "You brought it to my desk. I said I knew him. You said he lived in the room you just rented. And now, I'm saying I need dinner." He picked up his case. Leah wanted to block the door. The impulse embarrassed her enough that she stepped aside. "Diner closes at 8, she said. Tommy nodded. "Then we have time." He carried his things to room 8. For the next hour, Leah tried to behave like a motel owner, rather than someone whose childhood had acquired an unlocked door. She answered 2 calls, folded receipts into the cash envelope, and entered a reservation for a utility crew arriving Thursday. She opened her father's contact on her phone 3 times and closed it without calling. At 6:30, Tommy returned wearing a dry flannel shirt. He set a bent piece of brass on the counter. "Closet latch," he said. "It still sticks. You made those knife marks around it. Pocket knife. I was not a patient man. I replaced the latch. You replaced half of it. Other half's older than both of us." Leah held up a screwdriver. Tommy raised both hands. "I surrender." They walked to room 8. The rain had softened to a steady hiss against the awning. Inside, Tommy's shirts hung in the closet, evenly spaced. His sample case rested beside the desk. The room smelled of new paint, and the cedar deodorizer rose a place behind every dresser. Leah removed the latch plate. Tommy stood behind her, looking around. Bed used to be on that wall. June moved it when she installed the air conditioner. Air conditioner was there. It just didn't condition much. She never told me Dad stayed here. I expect she thought he should. Leah kept her eyes on the screw. "Did you come to the funeral because of him?" "I came because of June. You told him she helped you when you didn't deserve it." "She did." "With what?" Tommy sat on the edge of the bed. "I was working on the state highway widening. Good money, long hours. My wife had left. I started drinking like I was trying to make the divorce retroactively sensible." Leah glanced at him. "I'm 31 years sober," he said. "You don't have to hide the little bottles. I wasn't going to." You looked at the minibar space. "We don't have minibars." Then I'm safe." He smiled, but his hands had become still on his knees. I missed work, spent my check, owed June for 6 weeks. She should have put me out. Instead, she stopped giving me a room key after dark and made Carl let me in. That was her solution. It annoyed me into sobriety. Dad helped. Your father could be very annoying. I know that part. Tommy laughed. Leah tightened the latch screw. You said room 8 was Dad's before yours. He moved out. And June transferred me in because room 7's heater failed. Carl fixed that heater 3 times before she let him replace it. He knew how. He learned. The screw slipped. Leah steadied it. Why was he here? She asked again. Tommy watched the rain stripe the window. He flunked out of college. The words were ordinary. That was what made them hard to understand. No, he left. After he flunked out. He says he realized college was a waste of money. People realize many things after the school stops inviting them back. Leah sat back on her heels. His father didn't take it well, Tommy continued. Frank Mercer believed failure was contagious if you let it sleep indoors. Carl came home with a duffel bag and a laundry basket. Frank put both on the porch. Grandpa threw him out? Frank threw everybody out eventually. Carl was just the only one who came back. Where was Grandma? At the motel. They were separated by then. Not officially, because official things cost money, but Frank had the house and June had this place. Leah had known her grandparents lived apart before Frank died. Carl always described it as June choosing the sunset over her marriage. In his telling, she had been too stubborn to leave a failing business. No one mentioned that Frank had controlled the house. June put Carl in room 8, Tommy said. Didn't charge him, made him run the desk nights and help with repairs. He told Denise he was taking a semester off. My mother knew him then. They were dating. Denise was working in an insurance office and wearing enough hairspray to deflect rain. A laugh escaped Leah before she could stop it. She came here? Not often. Carl was ashamed. He'd meet her in town or borrow June's car. He kept saying he'd tell her after he figured out what came next. Did he? Eventually. I don't know what version. Leah thought of Denise packing her lamp in a towel, believing care could alter the meaning of an act. Perhaps she had spent an entire marriage helping Carl protect a story he feared would not survive being named. What was he like? Leah asked. Tommy leaned back on his hands. Skinny, angry, couldn't sleep. Read every instruction manual in the office because he couldn't stand not knowing how something worked. He fixed ice machines, door closers, the pool pump. Then he'd pretend June had forced him so no one could thank him. That sounds like him? He was kind then. The words hurt more than the others. He is kind, Leah said automatically. Tommy nodded. I imagine he is. Sometimes. That too. He told her about a winter night when an elderly couple's heater failed in room 5. Carl moved them into the apartment, gave up his own blankets, and spent 4 hours repairing the unit because every other room was full. He told her Carl sat on the pool deck with Tommy after Tommy's wife mailed divorce papers, not offering advice, just making sure he did not drive. He talked about having a family someday, Tommy said. Said his house would be different. Said nobody under his roof would ever have to earn the right to stay. Leah looked at the newly tiled bathroom until the lines blurred. Tommy's voice softened. I'm sorry. He said that? More than once. He stood on the porch and watched my mother carry my clothes out in garbage bags. I heard. From who? Your sister's page. Some stories tell themselves around the edges. Leah rose too quickly. And you waited until now? I didn't know you. You knew what he did. I knew what a post implied. I didn't know what happened in your house. You know now? Yes. And you're still protecting him. Tommy's eyebrows lifted. Is that what you think I'm doing? You said it was his story. It is. He used that story against me without telling it. Also true. Leah paced to the window. Rain shone on the pavement beneath the red sign. If people knew, she said, he couldn't keep pretending he did everything alone. People, Mom, Megan, everyone he told I was wasting my life. Tommy stood. And then what? He would have to admit what he did. No. He would have to admit what happened to him. Those are different admissions. He threw me out for taking a hotel job. He threw you out because he's terrified you'll need what he needed. That doesn't make it better. I did not say it did. Tommy's voice had sharpened. He stepped toward her, not threatening, but no longer gentle. Carl made needing a room into the most shameful thing that ever happened to him. June gave him a year, and he spent 36 years pretending the year did not exist. You slept on a sofa for months, sold your car, worked all night, and argued with anyone who tried to give you $40. Tell me you're building something different. Leah stared at him. I paid Rosa what she was owed. You did. I accepted deposits. After a storm, put water through your ceiling. I let Megan help, and remind her every chance you get that she came late. He had learned too much from photographs and too little from living it. Anger rose in Leah because there was enough truth in his accusation to keep her from dismissing it. You don't get to walk in here after 36 years and diagnose me? No, but I get to decline being used as ammunition. I didn't ask you to come. You reopened the room. Tommy's expression changed. The anger left first, then the certainty. I came because I thought seeing Carl might settle something old, he said. At the funeral, he looked at me like I had dragged his failure into church. Maybe I wanted him to know somebody remembers the man he was before shame made him hard. You think that man is still there? I think people don't disappear as cleanly as they pretend. Leah set the screwdriver on the dresser. Are you going to tell him you're here? Yes. Her stomach tightened. When? I called him from the diner. You what? I left a message. You had no right. I didn't tell him about this conversation. You didn't have to. He'll assume I know. You do know. The office phone rang through the wall. Leah left Tommy in room 8 and hurried back to the desk. The call was a guest asking for another towel. She delivered it, returned to the office, and checked her cell phone. No missed calls. For an hour, nothing happened. Then headlights swept across the office window. Carl's truck entered the lot too fast, braked beneath the awning, and remained running. He got out without a jacket and looked first at the door to room 8, then at Leah behind the desk. When he came inside, rain shone on his hair. You put him in that room? Leah stood. I didn't know. Carl looked at the photograph on the wall, June's arm around his younger shoulders. His voice dropped. What did he tell you? Leah came around the desk. He told me you flunked out of college. Carl's eyes closed for half a second. He told me Grandpa put your things on the porch. He told me Grandma let you live in room 8 for almost a year. Keep your voice down. No one's here. There are guests. The doors are closed. That has never stopped people in a motel. He crossed to the office window and looked toward room 8. Tommy's curtains were open, but the lamps were off. What else? Carl asked. That you worked the desk, fixed things, helped him when he was drinking. Carl gave a quiet, bitter laugh. Tommy was always excellent at remembering other people's failures. He remembered you being kind. That must have disappointed him. It disappointed me. Carl turned. Leah had not planned to say it, but there it was. His face took the blow before anger covered it. You think some story from a traveling salesman tells you who I was? I think it tells me you understood what it meant to have nowhere to go. You had somewhere to go. Grandma's office sofa. You chose that. You chose room 8. I did not choose to fail. And I didn't fail at all. Carl's jaw tightened. The door connecting the office to the outdoor walkway opened. Tommy stepped inside, carrying no coat despite the rain. This isn't on her, he said. Carl did not look at him. You called me. I did. And then you sat here filling her head. Her head came filled. 36 years, Tommy. Yes. You couldn't leave it alone. I tried that. Carl finally faced him. The two men seemed both older and younger in each other's presence. Tommy's shoulders squared the way they might have on a highway crew. Carl's hands opened and closed at his sides. You told her everything? Carl asked. No. What does that mean? It means there's no everything. You failed school. Your father was cruel. Your mother helped you. Then you got on with your life. You have no idea what I did after I left. I know. I built a business. I know. I took care of my family. Tommy glanced at Leah. That appears to be under discussion. Carl stepped forward. Leah moved between them. Not in the office. This is my family, Carl said. This is my motel. The words stopped him. Leah took the key to room 8 from the spare ring and walked outside. She did not check whether they followed. Rain blew beneath the awning, cold against her face. She unlocked the room and held the door. Tommy entered first. Carl remained on the walkway, staring at the brass number. You afraid it remembers you? Leah asked. He came inside. The room was too small for 3 adults carrying different versions of the past. Tommy stood near the window. Leah stayed by the door. Carl looked at the bed. the repaired closet latch, and the square of coral paint Leah had preserved. "I didn't know that was there," she said. Carl touched the painted square with one finger. The whole room was that color. Tommy said the bed was on the other wall. It was. His answer sounded involuntary. He opened the closet. On the inside of the door, the knife marks Tommy had made remained beneath the new latch. "You never could wait for anyone to bring a screwdriver," Carl said. Tommy almost smiled. "You never could stop telling me the proper tool." For one breath, they were men who had shared coffee before dawn and cursed at broken heaters. Then Carl closed the door. "Why did you call me?" he asked. Tommy took his time answering. "At the funeral, I realized you were still ashamed to see me." "I wasn't ashamed of you." "No. That was the problem." Carl looked away. "I thought maybe we were old enough to speak plainly," Tommy said. "Then I saw Leah's pictures, saw what she was doing here. So you came to compare us. I came to rent a room. You always liked an audience, and you always thought telling the truth was performance." Carl pointed toward Leah. "You had no right to involve her. You involved her when you put her bags outside." Silence filled the room. Carl's face went still. "Get out." Tommy looked at Leah. "This is his room too," she said, "for 5 more nights." Carl laughed once. "Of course." Tommy picked up his room key from the desk. "I'll go get coffee." "You don't have to," Leah said. "I do if you're going to say what you need to say." He passed Carl at the door. Neither man touched the other. Once Tommy was gone, Carl sat in the desk chair. Leah had never seen him sit in a motel room before. He rested his forearms on his knees and stared at the floor between his shoes. "Your grandfather didn't throw me out because I failed one class," he said. "Tommy said you flunked out." "I stopped going. I lied about it for months. I spent tuition money on rent near campus because I was too ashamed to come home. When the school mailed the final notice, your grandfather opened it and put your things outside. He told me if I wanted to live like a quitter, I could do it somewhere he didn't have to watch." Leah leaned against the door. "Grandma gave you a room. Your grandmother hated him by then. Helping me was partly love and partly victory. That doesn't mean it wasn't help. No. Did Mom know? She knew I left school. Eventually. Did she know you lived here? She knew." The answer lodged somewhere new and painful. "You told us you rented an apartment. I did after this. You told us nobody helped you. I said I paid my own way. You did not. I worked every night for Grandma. Yes. While she gave you a room, she didn't give me anything. I repaired half this place and slept for free." Carl stood. "You think free is the same as without cost?" "No. I think you received mercy and decided to rename it wages." His face colored. Leah's own voice began to shake. "She gave you a key. You gave me garbage bags. You had graduated. You had a degree, a job offer, choices I never had. I had a job at a front desk for $16 an hour, helping Grandma, who was sick and hiding it from everyone. You were the reason she hid things. That is not fair. You said I didn't know enough to tell you what was fair. Do I know enough now?" Carl turned toward the window. Rainwater silvered the parking lot. "I was trying to keep you from making your life smaller," he said. "You made it homeless, for one night. You didn't know it would be one night. I knew your grandmother would take you." Leah stared at him. There it was, not ignorance, not even reckless anger, calculation. Carl had known June's door would remain open, which had allowed him to close his own. "You used her mercy too," Leah said. "You counted on it so you could punish me safely." His shoulders dropped, but he did not turn. "I knew you wouldn't be on the street. You knew because she had done for you exactly what you were condemning her for doing for me." Carl pressed his lips together. She could see him searching for an explanation that preserved intention, the way Denise had preserved the lamp. At last he said, "I can help with the remaining work." Leah almost laughed. "What?" "I saw the back rooms. You need roof flashing at the stairwell, and the doors need replacing. I can get materials at cost. I don't want your supplier discount. You need money. I need you to say you were wrong. I am trying to solve the actual problem. You are the actual problem." He recoiled. Leah hated that it felt good. Carl reached into his shirt pocket and removed a folded check. He had written it before coming. The amount was enough to finish 2 rooms and repair most of the rear awning. "No deed," he said. "No transfer. Take it." She looked at the check without touching it. "This is what you wanted," he said. "No, this is what you understand. It keeps the motel open. It lets you leave without apologizing. His hand remained extended. Leah, say you threw me out because you were ashamed of the person you used to be. I will not let Tommy turn this into some cheap. Tommy left. Carl lowered the check. You did it, Leah said. You made the choice. Mom packed the bags. Megan watched. Grandma took me in. Nobody else is responsible for those facts. He folded the check along its original crease and put it back in his pocket. You are becoming as stubborn as she was. Maybe. It killed her. The words came fast, born before judgment. Carl heard them at the same moment Leah did. His face changed. Leah opened the door. Get out. I didn't mean get out of her room. He left without looking at her. Tommy returned 20 minutes later with 2 coffees. He found Leah sitting on the floor beside the bed. I'm checking out tomorrow, he said. You paid for a week. I'll pay for a week. You don't have to leave. He offered her one of the cups. Carl and I have been leaving the same conversation for 36 years. I should stop pretending a different room will change the ending. Leah accepted the coffee. He offered money, she said. Did you take it? No. Good? I don't know. Tommy sat in the desk chair. That's usually the honest answer. He checked out the next morning, but paid through Sunday. He did not ask for a refund, repair anything, introduce Leah to useful contacts, or leave a mysterious envelope. He simply carried his sample case to his car and told her the room looked better than it had when he was young. Will you come back? She asked. If you'll have me. You paid. That is not what I asked. Leah understood the distinction. Yes, she said. Come back. 2 days later, a pipe joint failed behind room 5. Water soaked the wall between 5 and 6 before Leah reached the shutoff. Both rooms had guests. One was due to stay 3 weeks. For the first time, Leah did not try to manage the disaster alone. She called Nia and relocated the guests. She called Rosa and asked when she could come, not whether. She called Megan and said, I need help moving furniture. Megan arrived in 40 minutes, wearing work pants and no makeup. They carried mattresses into room 7, lifted dressers onto blocks, and pulled wet drywall until midnight. When Leah began apologizing for the mess, Megan said, I can see it. You don't have to narrate. At 1 in the morning, they sat on the office floor eating crackers from the vending rack. Dad told Mom about Tommy, Megan said. What version? He said a guest was spreading old lies. They weren't lies. I know. You knew he stayed here? No. Mom did. Leah looked at her. She said he told her it was temporary work, Megan continued. She didn't know Grandpa threw him out. Or, she says she didn't. The office door opened. Denise entered carrying no food, no slow cooker, and no prepared reason to be there. Her eyes moved over their wet clothes and the drywall dust on Leah's arms. I need to say something before I lose my nerve, she said. Leah stood. Denise clasped her hands so tightly her knuckles whitened. I packed those bags because agreeing with your father was easier than disagreeing with him, she said. Not because I thought he was right, not because I thought you'd be safe, because it was easier for me. She swallowed. I'm sorry I made the cost of that yours. Leah did not move toward her mother. The office floor was scattered with wet drywall, towels, and crackers crushed beneath someone's shoe. Denise stood in the middle of it, wearing loafers that had never met mud and a cream blouse too delicate for the room. You did, Leah said. Denise nodded. Her eyes filled, but she did not turn away. I don't know what you want me to do with that. Nothing. You drove here at 1 in the morning to tell me nothing? I drove here because if I waited, I would find a softer way to say it. Megan set down her coffee. That's true. Denise glanced at her. I'm not proud that you know that. You taught us both. The words were sharp, but Denise accepted those too. Leah looked at the open wall where the failed pipe joint glinted beneath a flashlight. I'm not ready to forgive you. I know. I might be angry tomorrow even though you apologized. I know. I might bring it up again, Megan said. She will. Denise almost smiled. I know. The apology did not close anything. It did not restore Leah's room, change the driveway, or make her mother brave retroactively. It simply remained in the office with them, uncomfortable and solid. Denise took off her loafers. What are you doing? Leah asked. Those shoes will be ruined. You don't have to help. I know. She rolled up her pants and began carrying pieces of wet drywall to the trash pile. At 3, she drove to an all-night store and returned with work gloves, contractor bags, coffee, and dry socks for everyone. She did not call Carl. She did not ask Leah whether he could come. At 5, her cream blouse had a brown streak across the front, and one sleeve was torn at the cuff. When the plumber arrived after sunrise, Denise left without asking for praise. Megan watched her car turn onto the state road. Do you believe her? Yes. Does it help? A little. That seems unfair. To who? Everyone. I thought apologies were supposed to be more dramatic. Leah picked up the last contractor bag. Dad trained us badly. The pipe repair consumed most of the next month's room revenue. Rooms 5 and 6 remained closed while the wall dried, and 3 longer reservations had to be transferred to the Hawthorne. Nia found space without making Leah beg, then pointed to the lobby fountain. We replaced the pump, she said. Congratulations. It still splashes. Monitoring, always. Leah worked the night desk until 7, returned to the Sunset by bus, and slept 4 hours before meeting the drywall crew. At the end of the second week, Nia found her counting the same cash drawer for the 3rd time. You put $20 in the ones, Nia said. I was testing you. Go sit. I'm fine. That phrase should require a license. Nia waited until Leah sat in the back office, then handed her a schedule with 3 nights instead of 4. I can't lose hours. You're not losing them, you're using leave. I don't have leave. You have 32 hours. I'm part-time. You became full-time in December. Leah stared at her. You signed the change form. When? December. That explains nothing. Nia pulled up a chair. If you collapse behind this desk, I will drag you into the fountain. Rest voluntarily. Leah took the leave. On the first morning, she did not go to the Hawthorne. Carl arrived at the Sunset, carrying a red toolbox. He parked away from the office and approached room 6 as if the shortest route between them did not pass through Leah. He had work gloves tucked into his back pocket and a replacement door closer beneath one arm. Leah stepped out of the office. What are you doing? Fixing this. I didn't ask you. The closer is bent. Door won't latch reliably in wind. I know. Then you know it has to be replaced. Put it down. Carl looked at her. Leah, if you want to repair something, start with an apology. His grip tightened around the closer. I came to help. That's not the same thing. I'm not going to perform a speech because Tommy Wade decided to revisit ancient history. This isn't about Tommy. He stayed 3 nights and left you with a story. He paid for 7. Carl's mouth twitched despite himself, but Leah did not let the moment soften her. You said Grandma's motel killed her. I said something cruel because I was angry. You've said a lot of cruel things while angry. Somehow, the rest of us end up living inside them after you calm down. He set the door closer on the railing. I shouldn't have said it. That's not the apology I asked for. What exact words will satisfy you? If I give them to you, they'll be mine. He stood there with the toolbox, the thing he had always used instead of uncertainty. Then he picked up the door closer and walked back to his truck. He left without installing it. Denise called that evening. I heard he came. You knew he was coming? No. Did you tell him to apologize? I told him what I apologized for. I can't make him understand his part. That's new. I'm trying something. Leah sat on the office counter, looking at the empty place where June's reading glasses once lay. It feels strange. Yes, like you're making me do my own fight. I think I've done too much of the wrong kind of helping. They talked for 9 minutes. Neither mentioned the weather. Carl returned the following Saturday with no toolbox. Leah was repainting the railing outside room 9. He stood at the bottom of the stairs until she noticed him, then waited while she finished the section beneath her brush. I threw you out, he said. She set the paint can down. Carl looked toward the office window rather than at her. Not because you had no plan, you had one. I didn't like it. Leah said nothing. I told myself I was forcing you to be independent, but I knew your grandmother would take you. I depended on her being kinder than I was. His voice roughened. He cleared it. When I saw you choosing this place, I saw myself in room 8. I hated that year. Not because of what your grandmother did for me, because I needed it. I spent a long time turning need into humiliation, and then I handed that humiliation to you. He looked at her then. I was wrong. I am sorry I made you earn what I had been given. The motel office phone rang. Neither moved. It rang again. Leah wiped her hand on her paint pants and went inside to answer. A guest wanted to know whether the vending machine worked. Leah explained that there was no vending machine anymore and directed him to a gas station half a mile away. When she returned, Carl still stood beside the stairs. "I don't forgive you yet," she said. "I know. You don't get to tell anyone you saved this motel." His forehead creased. "I didn't. You might later." A reluctant breath of laughter left him. "All right. You follow my repair plan. You don't add work without asking. Any materials go through the Sunset's invoices, even if you get a discount." "Fine. And Rosa is in charge when I'm at the Hawthorne." Carl looked toward the laundry room. "Rosa has never needed anyone's permission to be in charge. Then we agree." She handed him a scraper. They worked on the railing without speaking for almost an hour. Carl tried twice to correct the angle of her scraper. The first time, Leah ignored him. The second, she told him he was welcome to scrape the far side. He went. It was not forgiveness. It was a Saturday. More Saturdays followed. Carl replaced the closer on room 6 after showing Leah the invoice. He repaired the rear service doors damaged during the copper theft and helped install trim in room 9. He knew where the old plumbing lines turned beneath the building without consulting the drawings. "How?" Leah asked. "I helped put them in. You were 21. I was available." He tapped the wall to locate a stud and found it on the first try. "Grandma said you fixed things," Leah said. "She said I broke them more efficiently than most people." The memory surprised a smile from him. It vanished almost immediately, but not before Leah saw it. Working together exposed the habits they shared. Both skipped lunch when a task was almost finished. Both became impatient with instructions after deciding they understood them. Both lined up screws by size without noticing. It also exposed their differences. Carl believed any cosmetic imperfection could wait. Leah argued that guests experienced maintenance through what they saw. He called her paint choices fussy. She pointed out that his building supply office had beige walls, beige carpet, and a beige clock. "It's professional," he said. "It's oatmeal. People trust oatmeal. People tolerate oatmeal." Rosa settled arguments by assigning them separate rooms. Denise began coming on Sundays. Sometimes she brought food. Sometimes she brought nothing. She asked before cleaning the office. When Leah said no, she sat outside with coffee instead of pretending not to hear. Megan built an actual booking site and connected it to the reservation system Leah used at the Hawthorne. She photographed Denise painting lamps and Carl on a ladder. But when Carl asked her not to post his picture, she didn't. The work did not suddenly become affordable because the Mercers had begun speaking honestly. The Sunset still needed paying guests. Leah kept 6 rooms open while finishing 9 and 10. The income bought doors for 11 and 12. Carl's supplier discount reduced costs, but Leah paid every invoice. One afternoon, a contractor's check bounced, leaving 2 rooms unpaid for 9 nights. Carl wanted to call the man's employer. Leah arranged a payment plan directly. "You're too trusting," he said. "You're too eager to make people regret needing time." He heard the second meaning. Fair. The man paid in 3 installments. By midsummer, the Sunset had 10 rooms in service. Leah reduced her Hawthorne schedule to 2 nights a week, then spent several days wondering whether she had made a reckless decision. Nia told her the job would remain available. "You're good at this," Nia said. "At night audit? At deciding which problem is actually in front of you. I have not historically excelled at that." Growth. Rooms 11 and 12 were the final ones. Their stripped plumbing had to be replaced, bathroom floors repaired, and electrical service extended from the new panel. They were also the least sentimental. June had used them for storage during the final year. Without guest memories attached, Leah found it easier to make practical choices. Carl did not. He stood inside room 12 one Saturday, looking at a patch on the wall where a dresser had protected the original paint. "My father stayed here once," he said. "Grandpa?" "For 1 night, after he and Mom separated." "What happened?" "He complained about the rate." "Did she charge him?" "Double." Leah laughed. Carl rubbed paint dust between his fingers. "She was better at boundaries with everyone except the people she loved." "You think keeping the motel killed her?" He took a long time to answer. "I think it made it easier for her to hide being sick," he said. "I think blaming the building was easier than admitting I stayed away because I was angry." The answer was not clean enough to be comforting. Leah trusted it more for that. They finished room 12 near the end of August. Bernard Cole scheduled the final inspection for the first week of September, 4 days before the anniversary of June's death. The night before he came, Leah walked the entire property alone. Every door closed, every alarm blinked. The repaired pool remained covered because reopening it belonged to a future budget. The rooms were simple: clean beds, working lamps, strong water pressure, small squares of old coral paint preserved inside several closets. On the office pegboard hung 12 brass keys. Leah straightened room 8's tag and heard a truck pull into the lot. Carl entered carrying the old silver graduation cap. Dust no longer covered it. "You left this in the apartment," he said. "I know where it was." He set it beside the register. "Your mother thought you might want it for the reopening. We haven't passed yet." Carl glanced toward the dark rooms. "You will." Bernard Cole would condemn his own mother's kitchen. He'd give her 30 days. Leah smiled. Carl placed the master key on the counter between them. He had cleaned the brass until June's faded label was visible again. "You should be the one who gives this to him tomorrow," he said. Then he left without telling her what the motel had become, what June would think, or what she ought to do next. Leah stood alone behind the desk with the key in her hand, listening to 12 quiet rooms wait to be judged. Bernard Cole found the first problem in room 3. The emergency light above the door came on when he pressed the test button, flickered, and died. Leah stared at it. It worked last night. "Problems enjoy witnesses." "Did you just make a joke?" Cole wrote on his yellow board. "No." He continued to room 4. Leah followed with the master key, a screwdriver, spare batteries, and the growing conviction that every object in the sunset had been waiting for this particular morning to betray her. Room 4 passed. Room 5 passed. In 6, Cole pulled on the bathroom grab bar with enough force to make Leah nervous, but it held. He inspected the shutoff valves behind rooms 11 and 12, checked the new plumbing, and ran both showers at once. He opened electrical panels, tested outlets, measured the space between a bed and a doorway, and made notes without revealing whether they were good or fatal. Carl waited in the parking lot beside his truck. Leah had told him not to follow the inspection, so he had transformed himself into a visible person who was technically not following. Rosa watched from the office. Megan refreshed the county lodging page on her phone, even though no result would appear there. Denise sat beneath the awning with a cardboard tray of coffee and offered none to Cole because, as she whispered, she did not want it to look like bribery. In room 12, Cole closed the final electrical panel. "Well?" Leah asked. "The emergency light in 3 needs a new battery. I have one. The exterior handrail outside 9 is loose at the bottom bracket. I have a wrench. I'm sure you do. Anything else?" Cole turned to a fresh page. "The office smoke detector is 8 months from expiration." 8 months. I thought you'd like advance notice?" Leah waited. He clipped the inspection sheet to the board, signed the bottom, and held it out. Rooms 11 and 12 were approved for occupancy. The annual lodging license covered all 12 rooms. Leah read the signature twice. "That's it? That's the inspection. You're not coming back tomorrow? I hope not." She looked toward the dark vacancy sign. "You're sure?" Cole followed her gaze. "Do you want me to find something else?" "No." "Then stop asking." Leah laughed. Rosa came out of the office. "Did we pass?" Cole handed Leah his copy of the license. "She passed." "We passed," Rosa corrected. Leah looked at her. Rosa lifted one eyebrow. "Do not become foolish at the finish line." Megan let out a shout and threw both arms around Denise, nearly spilling the coffee. Carl remained beside his truck. His smile was small, private, and free of ownership. Leah crossed the lot to him. "It passed," she said. "I heard. The handrail outside 9 is loose. I saw that last week. And you didn't fix it? You said not to add work without asking." She studied his face for mockery. "There was some, not all of it." "The wrench is in the office," she said. "I know where you keep it." The official reopening was set for Saturday, the anniversary of June's death. Megan had suggested a ribbon cutting. Leah refused on the grounds that no one who owns scissors should be encouraged near the building. They settled on supper in the courtyard. The drain pool remained covered, so Carl built long tables over part of it, using sawhorses and plywood. Leah approved the plan before he began. Denise brought the blue linen napkins from home and stood in the office holding them. "Can I use these?" she asked. Leah recognized the pale stain on one corner from her graduation dinner. "Here? They're just napkins. Nothing in this family is just anything." Denise looked down at the folded stack. We can use paper. No. Leah took half and carried them outside. Blue looks good with coral. Megan arrived with the quilts. She had washed them, folded them into the same storage bin, and driven them back without warning. I thought these were yours, Leah said. They are. You're returning them? I'm deciding where mine belong. She lifted the blue and white quilt. Room 8? Leah touched one of June's crooked stitches. Room 8. They spread the quilt across the bed together. The rings did not line up evenly. June had compensated by narrowing the final row until the mistake disappeared beneath the pillows. Megan smoothed the coral-striped quilt over the bed in room 9. I'm sorry I took them like that, she said. I'm sorry I made you feel like missing her had to be earned. Megan looked at her. You were better at suffering. I had practice. That isn't the same as talent, Leah smiled. You're still not getting the brass keys. I don't want the keys. You wanted everything else. I wanted 2 quilts. You brought a very large bin. Megan threw a pillow at her. By 6, cars filled the lot and lined the grass beside the road. Dennis came wearing a clean shirt with one streak of white paint near the cuff. Gary Loomis brought the ribbon toilet handle back and mounted it beneath the office counter as an emergency spare. Mrs. Hanley returned 6 towels in a department store bag and immediately asked whether her previous cleaning fee could now be reconsidered. No, Rosa said. Nia arrived straight from the Hawthorne in her burgundy blazer and black sneakers. She stood beneath the vacancy sign, examined the building, and nodded. The fountain is missing. We're monitoring it, Leah said. Nia laughed and hugged her. Former guests brought food, photographs, and memories. A traveling nurse showed Leah the room she had already booked for 6 weeks in October. A utility foreman asked whether Leah could hold 3 rooms whenever storms brought his crews through the county. The furniture salesman left a bowl of peppermint candies on the office counter. None of it promised an empire. Tomorrow, Leah would still have taxes, payroll, utility bills, and a roof that would eventually need another section replaced. Rooms would sit empty. Guests would complain. The Sunsets account would rise and fall by numbers small enough to make each broken appliance personal, but all 12 doors could open. Rosa found Leah behind the laundry room, checking towel inventory during supper. You are hiding. I'm counting. You counted yesterday. Guests are using them. That is why we have towels. Leah looked at the shelves. I keep waiting for something to go wrong. Many things will. Comforting. You will charge for the room, pay me on Friday, and fix the thing. Rosa held out a plate piled with barbecue, potato salad, and one of Denise's rolls. Eat before your mother sends a search party. Leah accepted the plate. About Fridays. Rosa narrowed her eyes. I want you full-time. Operations manager, not just housekeeping. Written salary, paid leave. You tell me when I'm spending money stupidly. I do that now, then you might as well get benefits. Rosa's face remained suspiciously composed. I want the agreement on paper, she said. It's already in the office. And I am not family. No? Good. Rosa took the plate from Leah, set it on the washing machine, and hugged her. When they returned to the courtyard, Gary was telling the story of carrying the toilet tank lid to the office. He had enlarged it enough that June was now chasing him across the parking lot with a plunger. She was not, Leah said. You were asleep. I was there. Carl stood near the end of the table, talking to Dennis. A former guest Leah did not recognize shook his hand. You Mercers really brought this place back, the man said. Carl glanced around the courtyard. We, he began. Leah waited. Carl's eyes found hers. Leah brought it back, he said. Rosa, Megan, the guests, a lot of people helped. I came later. The man nodded, unaware of the distance contained in those last 3 words. Carl crossed to Leah. You were ready to correct me, he said. Yes. I noticed. You stopped yourself. I'm learning. Slowly. Mercer trait. Which Mercer? He considered. All the difficult ones. Denise called everyone toward the tables. Before they sat, Megan tapped a spoon against her glass and tried to give a speech. She made it through 2 sentences about June before her voice failed. Mrs. Hanley took the glass from her. June charged me extra for towels for 12 years, she said. I loved her anyway. Laughter moved through the courtyard. Others added small memories. Dennis remembered June paying him in cash after his divorce because she knew his wife still saw the bank statements. Nia spoke about Leah calling at the worst moment of her life and still worrying about relocating guests. Rosa refused to speak until Gary accused her of being emotional. Then she stood. June was generous, Rosa said. She was also late with payroll, bad at asking for help, and impossible when sick. We love the whole person, or we love an invention. Leah felt Carl's attention shift. Leah pays on Friday, Rosa continued. She asked for help badly, but now she asks. This is improvement, she raised her glass. To improvement. It was not elegant. June would have liked it. After supper, people carried dishes to the office and moved chairs from the courtyard. Denise gathered the blue napkins, stained now with barbecue sauce and chocolate cake. Leave them, Leah said. They need washing. I have washing machines. Denise hesitated. You want to keep them here? If that's okay. Her mother smiled. They're just napkins. Don't overdo it. The parking lot emptied slowly. Dennis left. Naya hugged Leah again and warned her not to accept a guest who complained of skeletal vibrations. Gary checked into room 4 and tested the toilet before bringing in his suitcase. A silver sedan turned beneath the awning. Tommy got out carrying the same leather sample case. Carl was stacking chairs near the office. He stopped when he saw him. Tommy looked from Carl to the glowing sign. Am I late? For supper, Leah said, not check in. I had a sales call run long. You're still selling industrial equipment? Machines don't hold grudges as long as people. Carl set down the chairs. Tommy walked toward him. Neither offered a hand. Room still standing? Tommy asked. Better than you left it, Carl said. You fixed the closet latch? Leah did. Tommy nodded. Then it might last. A smile pulled briefly at Carl's mouth. Yeah, I was wrong about something, Carl said. Tommy waited. My father putting me out wasn't the part I needed to hide. No? The part where people helped afterward. The words cost him. Leah could see that. Tommy shifted his case to the other hand. Took you long enough. 36 years. I waited. Carl looked toward room 8. Coffee tomorrow? I'll be here. It was not reconciliation. It was a reservation. Inside the office, Leah took the brass key from its peg. Tommy signed the card and asked whether the room was available for the full week. It is. She placed the key in his palm. He looked at the blue diamond tag, then at the silver graduation cap beside the register. You kept both, he said. They mean different things now. Tommy carried his case to room 8. A moment later, its lamp came on behind the blue and white quilt. Carl and Denise left together. Megan took the last storage bin, but not the quilts. Rosa locked the laundry room and reminded Leah that operations managers did not answer non-emergency calls after 10. At the edge of the lot, the vacancy sign glowed without flickering. Leah stood beneath it and looked across the 12 doors. 8 were occupied. 4 were waiting. Above the office, the manager's apartment held her clothes in drawers instead of garbage bags, her work shoes beside the door, and tomorrow's reservation list on the kitchen table. The sign buzzed steadily over her head. It did not promise that someone would always come. It only said there was room.